Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 81 Gold Core Second Transformation. The arrogant and domineering disciple of Pill Refining Pavilion. While the Langya Chamber of Commerce's communication talisman was extremely popular, it also brought in huge spirit stone revenue. The foundation has not been idle. Wang Xiu also always remembers his core goal. Make money for better investment. With money in hand, the Ascension conferences on major islands are continuing in full swing. The second batch of thousands of islands planned by Wang Xiu have been covered in these days. The number of monks he invested in also increased by hundreds of millions. This is a huge sum of money for the monks. The progress of his cultivation, which had slowed down after breaking through the gold core, returned to its previous speed, or even faster. A few days later, when Wang Xiu woke up, he found that he had successfully broken through to the second level of gold core. That's right, practice should never stop. I'm too diligent. It's sunny. The sea was calm and the waves sparkled. Winter was approaching and it was rare to have such warm days. Wang Xiu took the brocade box that Sha Yaoyao had sent him 2 days ago. Sit on the golden lion. Came to the sacred land of Baiming and found his mother Luo Xuanshuang. Why are you here? Luo Xuanshuang was very surprised to see Wang Xiu. I've got something for you. Wang Xiu opened the brocade box and took out a communication symbol from it. The whole shape of the symbol was that of a sword, and the blade was long and slender, like a cold ice cone. Isn't this my cold whale? Luo Xuanshuang was a little surprised. It's made according to your frost whale sword. Open it and see if you like it. Luo Xuanshuang followed Wang Emu's instructions and injected a ray of magic power into it. It suddenly became colorful and the rays of light gathered behind Luo Xuanshuang's head and transformed into a moon. Behind her, dots of silver light fell, like an endless snowfall. Moreover, wisps of divine light fell obliquely like a meteor shower, repeating over and over again without interruption, streaking across the snow curtain. Luo Xuanshuang stood in front of the heavy snow, with meteor showers passing by behind her and the moon above her. The already majestic and holy face became even more cold and noble, like a divine maiden in the sky, making people unable to feel offended at all. Mom, you are simply the divine maiden from heaven. Wang Xiu gave a thumbs up and praised her sincerely. You little rascal, you've even learned to make fun of your mother. Luo Xuanshuang scolded, raised her hand and condensed a water mirror to reflect herself. The more she looked, the more her eyebrows raised. Women always love beauty. This is the special effect that Wang Xiu carefully prepared for his mother, and it truly touched Luo Xuanshuang's heart. I heard that you have developed a communication talisman recently, and it's very popular. Is this the one? Luo Xuanshuang was busy with all kinds of things, but she had heard about her son's affairs after all. How can that be possible? Wang Xiu shook his head without hesitation. Theirs are all ordinary models. How can they compare with yours? This is the Sword Immortal communication symbol that I specially customized. It is one of a kind. Luo's Sword Immortal was so happy and pleased by his baby son's words. Wang Xiu gave her the remaining customized communication symbols and asked her to help give them to her grandparents and father. Then he left. God Forging Island. Weapon Refining Pavilion. Sha Yaoyao was bending over the desk, writing and drawing carefully. The software design plan proposed by Wang Xiu shocked her greatly, as if it opened the door to a new world. She didn't eat or drink these days, and focused almost all her energy on this matter. Several plans have been made, but they all seem inappropriate, so we want to build a completely new array structure to support the perfect operation of the so-called software. This is completely unfamiliar territory. But it also makes it more challenging. And what Sha Yaoyao likes most is challenges. Ding ling ling. Suddenly, the silver bell hanging inside the door rang. Sha Yaoyao didn't even raise her head. I'm busy, nothing important, let's talk about it in a few days. Ding ling ling. Ding ling ling. The silver bell rang twice. Sha Yaoyao frowned slightly, and angrily released a spiritual spell to open the door formation. Who is it? It's me, junior sister Sha. A young man in a green cloak walked in with a smile on his face. Lu Chen. Sha Yaoyao frowned even more tightly. What are you doing here? Lu Chen is the eldest disciple of the Pill Refining Pavilion next door. Extraordinary natural talent. He has inherited all the true teachings from Elder Tianhuang and is almost certain to be the next master of Pill Refining Pavilion. To outsiders, the two are a perfect match in terms of talent and appearance, status and talents. It's a match made in heaven. Lu Chen himself thought so too. Only Sha Yaoyao was so absorbed in artifact refining that she had no interest in so-called love affairs. Faced with Lu Chen's various overtures, she just felt irritated. Especially now. Seeing Sha Yaoyao's unhappy face, Lu Chen quickly raised his arms, revealing 2 tall food boxes. I'll bring you some food. No, take it, thank you. Sha Yaoyao said briefly and lowered her head again. Don't, junior sister Sha. This is the 100-beast soup that I asked senior brother Ruan from the spiritual kitchen to make specifically for you. Eating it can replenish your essence, transform your energy, and strengthen your body. Lu Chen put the lunch box on the table and said, look at you. You must not have had a good rest these days. You look haggard. However, Sha Yaoyao still buried her head in writing, occasionally frowning in deep thought. Lu Chen pursed his lips. He was used to being ignored by Sha Yaoyao. But he was not angry. Instead, he enjoyed it and felt that junior sister Sha was different from any other woman in the world. So he sat down directly at the table. Quote. Seeing this, Sha Yaoyao's eyebrows instantly stood up, as if she was about to take off. Why don't you leave? Lu Chen thought for a while and said, Junior sister Sha, I heard that your weapon refining pavilion has been helping Wang Xiu recently. What's it to you? You and I entered the same sect together and grew up together. Your business is naturally my business. Lu Chen said confidently, are you guys at weapon refining pavilion short of money again? If you need money, you can ask us to borrow it. Why do you have to degenerate and become a running dog for that dude? The pill refining pavilion and the weapon refining pavilion have completely different styles of operation. In the entire Northern Territory, more than 60% of the elixirs circulating on the market come from the pill refining pavilion. Even the price of a pill could increase by 30% as long as it had the pill refining pavilion's mark. It can be said to be a big money maker in Biming sacred land. It is in stark contrast to the impoverished weapon refining pavilion. Sha Yaoyao listened to his impolite words, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. I suggest you be more careful with your words. Through this period of contact, she was basically certain that Wang Xiu's previous playboy character was the result of his hiding his talents. Lu Chen has a playboy on his left and a lackey on his right. When I find out the truth in the future, I'm afraid I'll slap myself in the face. But from what Lu Chen heard, Sha Yaoyao was worried that if he said something bad about Wang Xiu, the Holy Lord would hear it and blame them. He straightened his chest and showed an expression of fearlessness. I have a clear conscience. Even if you are the Holy Lord, what crime can you accuse me of? Chapter 82 Emperor Yan's Sacred Body. Listen to Lu Chen's tough voice. Sha Yaoyao shook her head and said nothing more. Lu Chen continued, I heard that the beast surnamed Wang asked you to help make a communication talisman. Isn't this a blatant humiliation to you? Well, whatever amount he gives you, I'll give you double. We don't ask you to do anything. When you have what you want, just return it to us. I just can't stand that Wang guy. He has a few bucks and behaves like a dandy. Sha Yaoyao looked strange. Double. Lu Chen nodded and said confidently, now that my master is in seclusion, I am the boss of the entire pill refining pavilion, so I still have the final say on this little money. In his opinion, how much would it cost to make a batch of communication symbols which were not difficult at all? Even if the quantity is larger, it is only about 20 to 30 million spirit stones, which is the upper limit. Just at this moment, a figure in red appeared outside the door. Is Miss Sha here? Exist. Ni Tingting walked in, placed a space ring on the table, and said with a smile, on the orders of the young master, I have brought the deposit for this batch of communication talismans, a total of 1 billion spirit stones. Miss Sha, can you count them? Mr. Duo. 10 billion. Before Sha Yaoyao could say anything, Lu Chen on the side showed a look as if he had seen a ghost. His voice tone rose several degrees and he stood up instantly. Who is this? Ni Tingting frowned. Don't pay attention to him, let's talk about our own things. Sha Yaoyao took the ring, and her spiritual sense sank into it. After a moment, she slowly opened her eyes with a hint of excitement in her eyes. That's right. In that case, I'll take my leave now. Miss Ni, won't you sit for a while? No, the young master is still waiting for me to return and report. I'll take you there. No. After a while, Sha Yaoyao returned to the house and saw Lu Chen standing there stupidly with a dazed look on his face. He couldn't help but frowned. You haven't left yet. Lu Chen swallowed his saliva. Which young master was she talking about just now? Sha Yaoyao rolled her eyes. In the entire Beihai, who else dares to call himself the young master in my Biming sacred land? Lu Chen showed an expression of disbelief on his face. He gave you 1 billion spirit stones. Sha Yaoyao added, it's a deposit, the balance is more than this. Lu Chen was speechless for a long time before he managed to say, he definitely has bad intentions, Yaoyao. He definitely has bad intentions towards you, for sure. Otherwise, how could a batch of communication symbols be worth so much money? Believe me, men understand men best. That B************* D knows you're short of money, so he's taking advantage of you. Don't be fooled. Sha Yaoyao stared at Lu Chen and sighed. Lu Chen, I think you have a misunderstanding about Wang Xiu. He is not the kind of person you think. Click. As soon as these words came out, Lu Chen suddenly pressed his heart, his face full of pain. Ouch. It hurts so much. Sha Yaoyao, you're done. You've fallen into his trap. Quote. This is a common tactic used by playboys like them. You need to wake up, Sha Yaoyao. Quote. Let's take a step back and say that even if he is really as bad as you said, he is incapable of cultivation. He is just an ordinary person, a waste. After all, we are not from the same world. In the world of cultivation, only strength is the foundation. He doesn't deserve you at all. Upon hearing this, Sha Yaoyao, who had originally had a relatively calm expression, suddenly changed her expression. Suddenly I remembered a not very good memory. Wang Xiu can't practice. Wang Xiu is a waste. This is the funniest joke I have ever heard in my life. Sha Yaoyao felt a sharp pain in her heart, and the restriction set by Luo Xuanxuang seemed to be ready to move. Roll. Sha Yaoyao spat, idiot. Lu Chen. Young master, the first batch of couriers, list has been sorted out, please take a look. Wang Xiu took the jade slip engraved with the list from Niting Ting. When spiritual sense is immersed in it, not only can one see the basic information of those people, but one can even see the video materials that emerge afterwards, the skills they are good at, and some major events in the past. After reading the whole document, Wang Xiu nodded and said, gather them together by region and prepare to start the training. Yes, young master. As one of the first couriers of Langya Mall, professionalism is a very important part, and it also shapes the world's first impression of online shopping. The law of the jungle in the cultivation world has a long history. When a person with a weaker cultivation base makes a purchase online, a powerful cultivator who is several realms higher in cultivation base is assigned to be the courier. The courier's attitude is very important. You are not required to be humble to your customers, but at least you should not be arrogant. We must not let the other party feel a sense of crisis or insecurity. Once this emotion arises, the monk is likely to give up online shopping. 1 or 2 may be small matters. But what about 10 or 8? What about hundreds or thousands? This kind of thing must be nipped in the bud at the very beginning. The wages Wang Xiu paid to these couriers were definitely not low. They were several times higher than what they could earn as independent cultivators or even working in some sects. This money is not taken for free. If you want to make money, learn how to work in the service industry. According to your instructions, we have secretly signed cooperation contracts and confidentiality agreements with many shops, restaurants and other industries on the major islands in the North Sea. The process was very smooth. Many shops didn't even hear clearly what we wanted them to do, but when they heard that they could cooperate with our Chamber of Commerce, they agreed directly. Wang Xiu smiled but said nothing. A strict hierarchy has its advantages. Sometimes it's convenient. Although the Langya Chamber of Commerce has a complete range of supplies covering all aspects, it still has some shortcomings. Immortal cultivation world is extremely inclusive, with a wide variety of industries flourishing. Coupled with the powerful means of practitioners. This led to some industries in the past being unsuitable for e-commerce. Such as fresh spiritual fruits, delicacies rich in spirit qi produced by restaurants, some island-specific products such as spirit fish and spiritual flowers, or the spiritual pet business, as well as the sale of puppets and singers, etc. In another world it might be illegal. But here, everything is allowed. Although the Langya Chamber of Commerce covers a wide range of areas, as the saying goes, every profession has its own specialization. Take the singer for example. The Chamber of Commerce had also sold half-monster women or slaves through auctions. But after all, no woman who came out of Miaoyan Tower was more popular. Therefore, it is necessary to let those merchants cooperate with the Langya Chamber of Commerce and enter the online trading platform. He had a hunch. Once Langya Mall goes online, other major chambers of commerce will definitely see the huge business opportunities and will not miss it. Therefore, it is beneficial to seize the market first. Just at this moment, a system prompt sound suddenly rang out. Congratulations host, the Lin Yan you invested in has refined the Taishu demon suppression flame, and the Emperor Yan's sacred body has been upgraded, and the cultivation level has been improved. Congratulations, you have received a return of the benefits of your cultivation from Lin Yan, and have gained 100% control of the Taishu demon flame. Congratulations, you have received the benefits of Lin Yan's training, Emperor Yan's sacred body basic accomplishment. Congratulations, your cultivation speed has increased. Congratulations, your flame control ability plus 1000. Congratulations, your fire divine ability has been increased by plus 1000. Congratulations, mana plus 10, Sun Emperor scripture experience plus 100. Chapter 83 Production Line Preparation. The communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce are released. Quote. Feeling the tremendous power that suddenly emerged in the body, and the large number of subtle mysteries that appeared out of nowhere in the mind, Wang Xiu couldn't help but fall into silence. Taishu demon suppressing flame ranks 25th on the spirit fire list. Known for its violent power, it has a natural restraining effect on evil and demonic things. It can also provide great boost to the combat power of practitioners. This flame is rare, worse than the sea spirit flame. It had only been a short time since Lin Yan mastered the dragon transformation technique, but he unexpectedly had this incredible opportunity again. He is worthy of being called Son of Fortune. It's amazing. Wang Xiu suddenly felt fortunate that he had filled up Lin Yan's investment progress in the past few days, otherwise he would not have been able to obtain such a generous rebate today. The control over the flame attribute and the flame divine ability is greatly improved. His combat power surged again. The cultivation level that had just broken through was significantly improved again. At the same time, he obtained the same Emperor Flame's sacred body as Lin Yan. Also, because he possessed the power of the Taishu demon suppressing flame, he was able to directly catalyze the basic accomplishment of the Emperor Flame's sacred body. In other words, in the future, he can also be like Lin Yan, constantly searching for strange flames in the world to devour and strengthen himself. Of course, this is a time-consuming, laborious and difficult task. It would be better to leave it to the hard-working Lin Yan. It's all the same anyway. Send Ni Ting away and let her do her own thing. Wang Mu's heart moved and he thought of little Nanan. He opened the panel and searched for message alerts about Xiao Nanan. Congratulations host, your little girl has refined deep-sea black gold, her foundation has improved, and her potential has increased. Congratulations, you have received a reward for your cultivation effect from Xiao Nanan, and your aptitude is plus 10. Congratulations host, your little girl has refined dragon transformation blood ginseng, and her qi and blood qualities have been improved. Congratulations, you have received a reward from Xiao Nanan for your cultivation effect, qi and blood plus 10, physical training talent plus 10. Congratulations to the host, your little girl has refined Xuanwang plum and her qi has been upgraded. Congratulations, you have received a return of the training effect from Xiao Nanan, mana plus 10, magic talent plus 10. Closing square bracket. Congratulations host, your little girl has successfully cultivated the heaven-defying creation skill, and her qualifications have been upgraded to high grade. Congratulations, your spirit qi affinity has increased, your cultivation speed has increased, and your spirit qi control has increased. Opening square bracket closing square bracket. Xiao Nanan is different from Lin Yan. She is the son of fortune who is supported by Wang Xiu. So she rarely brought any big surprises to Wang Xiu. But this does not necessarily mean that the rebate provided to Wang Xiu will be less. On the contrary, Wang Xiu provided her with almost unlimited amounts of various natural treasures so that she could practice the art of seizing the heavens and creating new things. She could constantly devour and refine those treasures to improve her own qualifications and cultivation. The last time Wang Xiu saw her, her spirit root qualification was still low grade. It hasn't been long since I was promoted to high grade. I believe that after some time, I will be able to reach the supreme grade spirit root. The future is promising. A few more days passed. The second batch of communication symbols manufactured by Weapon Refining Pavilion is completed, with a total of 10 million. Wang Xiu was present in person to inspect the quality. Not bad, really good. Wang Xiu nodded repeatedly and praised, I was right about you. Sha Yaoyao said proudly, I work for Weapon Refining Pavilion, you can rest assured. Wang Xiu accepted the space ring filled with communication symbols, looked at the weapon refining pavilion disciples around him, and said loudly, "My fellow brothers and sisters, you have all worked hard these days. Tonight, I'll treat you at Lingchu Pavilion. Order whatever you want." Wow! Young master is so generous. In an instant, cheers resounded through the clouds. During the banquet, there was toasting and laughter everywhere. The various spirit fish and spirit beast meats containing spirit chi were cooked by the excellent skills of the many spirit chefs in the spirit chef pavilion like immortal world dishes, and the taste was extremely delicious. Eating it can also bring great benefits to practitioners. Sha Yaoyao couldn't help but drink 2 more glasses of wine. Her pretty face is red. Her watery eyes make her even more charming. "Senior sister Yaoyao, I toast to you." Wang Xiu raised his glass and said with a smile, "Thank you for your hard work these days." Sha Yaoyao raised her glass and clinked it with her, speaking with a unique casualness, and waved her hand. "You spend the money, I do the work, it's not that hard. In fact, I should thank you. Without your 2 big orders, I'm afraid many people in our cabinet would not be able to hold on." Wang Xiu thought for a moment and said, "In fact, I think that it is a good thing for the weapon refining pavilion to pursue higher attainments in artifact refining, but there is no need to stick to the rules so rigidly. At least leave a way for you to be self-sufficient and support your research." Sha Yaoyao was silent and didn't say anything. Wang Xiu knew that she was struggling. How to choose between ideals and reality was not an easy matter. "I have a suggestion." "What?" "The Chamber of Commerce's business is growing bigger and bigger. We have many more ideas in the future and need the help of experienced artifact refining engineers." Hearing this, Sha Yaoyao looked at Wang Xiu with a more dangerous look in her eyes. "You don't want to turn the entire weapon refining pavilion into a forging workshop for your Langya Chamber of Commerce, do you?" "May I?" "Of course not." Sha Yaoyao sobered up immediately and stood up. Her surprisingly full breasts almost hit Wang Emu's face. Wang Emu's mouth twitched slightly, and he waved his hand, indicating that he should sit down first. "It's just a joke, don't be so excited." Sha Yaoyao stared at Wang Xiu with suspicion, thought for a while, and then sat down. "What I actually want to say is that you can send some elite artifact refining masters from your weapon refining pavilion to provide unified training for the artifact refining masters in our Chamber of Commerce." He also served as our technical advisor for a long time, lending a helping hand when we encountered difficulties. "I don't need you to teach them any secrets of artifact refining or any secret skills. All you need to do is to make their skills significantly different from those of the forges outside. For this, we can pay you a generous amount of money as consulting fees and technical guidance fees. The amount will definitely satisfy you. This way, most of you at the weapon refining pavilion can still concentrate on research, allowing the few artifact refining masters who have nothing to do to make money. Isn't that a win-win situation?" Wang Emu's voice was gentle, like the warm breeze at the seaside, and it reached everyone's ears clearly. The noisy banquet became quiet inadvertently. Almost everyone is thinking about the feasibility of this plan. Wang Xiu did not disturb her. He patted Sha Yaoyao on the shoulder, left the banquet, went outside the hall to get some fresh air, and waited quietly. If Langya Chamber of Commerce wants to reach the late stage, it will definitely need its own factory. Especially his many subsequent ideas. They all require a group of artifact refining masters with sufficiently sophisticated skills as a foundation. He had never really thought of taking over the weapon refining pavilion for his own use. After all, Sacred Land adopts an elite system to recruit disciples. There aren't that many disciples in the weapon refining pavilion, probably only about 2,000 to 3,000. It is almost impossible to meet the subsequent increasingly large commercial production requirements. And some of the original artifact refining masters and forgers within the Langya Chamber of Commerce. Although they are considered elite in the outside world, they are not far behind other chambers of commerce. So, he came up with this idea. After a long time. After discussing with all the disciples of the weapon refining pavilion, Sha Yaoyao walked out with a serious face. "We've thought about it." Wang Xiu turned around and looked at her calmly. "I can promise. Happy cooperation." Wang Xiu raised the corner of his mouth and slowly stretched out a hand. Sha Yaoyao hesitated for a moment, then stretched out her slender hands and shook hands with Wang Xiu. "It's a pleasure to work with you." That evening, the batch of communication symbols were delivered to the Langya Chamber of Commerce headquarters. Here it comes, the communication symbol is coming. The goods finally arrived. Finally you're here. If you hadn't come earlier, those people would have torn our Langya Chamber of Commerce apart. All departments of the Chamber of Commerce began to operate frantically. Distribution of goods. Shipment. Settle the order. Having a lot of fun. The next few days. The entire North Sea was once again swept by a huge wave of enthusiasm regarding communication symbols. 10 million communication symbols flowed into the market. Although the number was not small, it temporarily solved the urgent problem. But for Beihai, which has a huge number of practitioners, it is still a drop in the bucket. Instead, it is like a stone that causes 1,000 ripples. More people joined the reservation. I am eager to get a Langya communication symbol of my own. It was at this time. The three major chambers of commerce, Penglai, Sihai and Yunlai, suddenly announced in a high-profile manner that they would soon distribute their new communication symbols. Chapter 84 The Battle for the Communication Symbol. From the information we have learned so far, the communication symbols that the three major chambers of commerce are about to release will be divided into 4 styles: Phoenix, Qilin, Kunpeng, and Candle Dragon. The same style has 4 levels: Starry Sky, Brilliant Moon, Sunny Sun, and Milky Way. Ni Tingting reported with a serious face. Sha Yaoyao was also present, frowning. Isn't this a complete copy of ours? Even the name hasn't been changed much. Be more confident and remove the word ma. Wang Xiu sat in front of the tea table, slowly picked up a pot of hot tea, and poured it on the tea pet that looked like a golden toad. Watching the steaming tea flowing down the ceramic surface with calm eyes. Our communication charms are selling so well, how could they not be jealous? In addition, the communication charms are not difficult to make. With the strength of the three major chambers of commerce, it would be easy to copy them. Moreover, the three major chambers of commerce price each communication symbol lower than ours. Ni Tingting frowned slightly. The lowest level Star Glory, they only sell for 168 spirit stones. Brilliant Moon level, they sell for 1688 spirit stones. Houri level, 16,888 spirit stones. The most expensive galaxy grade is 168,888. And judging from the appearance, their communication symbols are almost the same as ours. Wang Xiu raised his eyebrows. Just a discount. Ni Tingting hesitated and said, a little cheaper is still cheaper. After years of experience in the business world, she understands most consumers. The main feature of the Langya brand communication symbol now is its coolness. Now, the three major chambers of commerce have developed equally cool communication symbols, and they are sold cheaper than the Langya Chamber of Commerce, and there is no limit on the quantity. At present, the market is not yet saturated. No need to think. Business can't be that bad. Wang Xiu said calmly, it's okay. Let the wind blow for a while. A few days later, after extensive publicity, the new communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce are sold simultaneously in various regions of the Northern Territory. Today's communication symbol market, it has long been hyped up by the Langya Chamber of Commerce. The monks are already familiar with the new communication symbols, but because the number of communication symbols sold by the Langya Chamber of Commerce each time is not large, there are large gaps in the market. In addition, the communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce are cheaper than those of the Langya Chamber of Commerce. Once it was launched online, it was snapped up with great enthusiasm. Haha, Brother Wu, what do you think this is? Communication talisman. Isn't it out of stock? Where did you buy it from? This is not from the Langya Chamber of Commerce, but from the Penglai Chamber of Commerce. The Penglai Chamber of Commerce has also made a new type of communication symbol. Yeah, look at the appearance and feel of mine. It's not any worse than your Sun level 1, guess how many spirit stones I spent on it. How many? 16,888 low-grade spirit stones. Just 2,000 spirit stones cheaper. What you're saying is that 2,000 spirit stones are also spirit stones, right? And there's not much difference between the two communication symbols. Why should I spend that money? The monk looked at his friend proudly. What injustice is there? His friend looked at him in confusion. Since ancient times, cheap goods are not good. Don't you know this truth? It's just a communication symbol. It only has those functions. How bad can it be? I don't know exactly what the difference is. The friend calmly shook his head and said, but I believe in the character of the young master of the Wang family. Since he sold the communication symbol at this price, it must be worth it. On the contrary, as for those three major chambers of commerce, Brother Zhu, don't forget the ugly things they have done. Be careful not to try to gain a small advantage, or you may suffer a big loss. Quote. After saying this, he patted the monk named Zhu on the shoulder and left calmly. The cultivator surnamed Zhu stayed there for a long time, his face twitching, and he spat in dissatisfaction. How can it be so mysterious? It's just a communication symbol, how can the difference be so big? Somewhere in a market, a group of monks who got the new communication symbols from the three major chambers of commerce are feeling very proud. I really made a profit this time. The Wei Yu leveled Taoist communication talisman is priced 200 spirit stones cheaper than the Hao Yu level 1 from Langya Chamber of Commerce. Yes, and it looks the same to me. It even looks better. Alas, if I had known earlier, I would have been more patient. I lost money by buying from the Langya Chamber of Commerce. Quote. How interesting. At this time, a middle-aged scholar came out shaking his head, holding a Langya brand Azure Dragon communication symbol, and looked at the group of people indifferently. Anyone with eyes can see that the materials used in the communication symbols of these three major chambers of commerce are completely different from those of the Langya Chamber of Commerce. The main material of the Langya Chamber of Commerce's communication talisman, even if it is of Chen star level, is deep-sea black gold. However, the three major chambers of commerce use extremely poor quality nephrite, and the price difference between the two is more than 100 times. There is no need to mention the higher levels. The three major chambers of commerce simply replaced the nephrite with high-grade ones and then applied some lacquer made from purple cloud wood. The Langya Chamber of Commerce used the extremely precious 9 refined black steel and star sand, which are treasures that can be used as the main materials for refining supreme-grade spirit weapons, not to mention the universe-grade. How can you say there is no difference? Hearing this, a female cultivator who supported the Sihai Chamber of Commerce snorted in dissatisfaction. So what? I only bought a communication talisman, not a law treasure. Why do I need such fine materials? The others followed suit. It's fine as long as the communication charm can communicate. It's not the law treasure. Why does it need such fine material? That's right, who else can use a communication charm to hit someone? The scholar's face was full of compassion. If you were deceived, it is still excusable, but if your heart is blind, there is no hope. Everyone was angry. What did you say? Facing the pressure from several people, the scholar remained motionless and said calmly, the communication symbols of the Langya Chamber of Commerce are made of the best materials. Although they are also used for communication, I think it is worth buying them at this price, even if it is just for the materials. But the communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce are nothing more than painted varnish. The cost is no more than 100 spirit stones at most. How dare they sell them for thousands or tens of thousands? Hearing this, everyone's faces turned pale and blue. They wanted to refute but didn't know where to start. You bought a low-quality product because you wanted to save money, but you still don't want to admit it. You insist on saying that you have a keen eye. Your mind is extremely foolish. The scholar shook his head and said in a cold voice, why don't you get out? At this moment, his aura was released like a violent storm, which scared the group of monks on the opposite side into peeing and shitting themselves. It was the Gold Core Realm's perfected being. Let's go, let's go. Everyone immediately turned pale and fled. There was silence for a moment. Immediately, there was thunderous applause. Good. Well said. Senior, you are very wise and righteous. We admire you. Quote. In the market town, a large number of monks gathered around, their eyes full of admiration. What those guys said just now was really nasty. If they didn't want to cause trouble, they would have stood up and beat those people up. Similar situation. It keeps happening all over the Northern Territory. It has to be said that the cheaper communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce are indeed sought after by many low-level cultivators. After all, it is not easy for anyone to earn spirit stone these days. This has given rise to signs of revival for the three major chambers of commerce in the North Sea region, whose reputations had almost sunk to the bottom. But that's all. Any cultivator who has reached a certain level of cultivation has a firm heart and his own set of standards for looking at problems, and is rarely influenced by outsiders. If not, it would be difficult to practice. With their keen eyesight, they could see at a glance the essential difference between the two communication symbols. It is clear that those who buy communication symbols from the three major chambers of commerce are the real victims. What's more, people who can spend thousands or tens of thousands of spirit stones to buy a communication symbol will naturally not mind spending several times more to buy the more worthwhile Langya communication symbol. So, the two levels of communication symbols, Starry and Brilliant Moon, from the three major chambers of commerce are indeed selling very well. But the two levels of Haori and Yin are almost impossible to sell. It is far from the grand occasion of being sought after by tens of thousands of people and having hundreds of thousands of reservations. Penglai Chamber of Commerce Headquarters. Go Anshi side, Langya Chamber of Commerce has a very deep foundation. Our communication symbols can only fight them at a low level at present. Lu Yanshuang said, it's already pretty good. Beihai is such a big cake. If we can take over 50% of the low-end market, we will have taken root. Moreover, our costs are much lower than those of the Langya Chamber of Commerce, and our profits far exceed theirs. She was quite emotional. Some time ago, due to Wang Xiu's series of actions, the business of the three major chambers of commerce in Beihai almost hit rock bottom and they had no place to stand. Now, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. He made a fortune. If the Langya Chamber of Commerce can continue to develop smoothly, I don't think it will take long. Their three major chambers of commerce will be expelled from the North Sea region. Tang Qian nodded and said, that's right. Although we didn't shake the foundation of the Langya Chamber of Commerce, we did open a crack after all. Chapter 85. Could it be possible that this communication symbol could explode? The communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce have rapidly increased their market share in the low-end market. Even though the price difference between the lowest level communication symbols on both sides is not much, only 20 spirit stones, it is still cheap. Of course, the most important point is, the communication symbols of the Langya Chamber of Commerce are all made by the Sacred Land Weapon Refining Pavilion of Baiming. The craftsmanship is very high, but the output is not high. Currently out of stock, the three major chambers of commerce have almost no requirements for craftsmanship, and they recruit a large number of ordinary forges and artifact refiners to do their work for them. As long as they look similar, it's fine, and there's no limit on the supply. It just happened to hit the right time when the market was empty. For a while, all over the North Sea, cultivators holding communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce can be seen everywhere, and it seems that there are more of them than those holding the Langya Chamber of Commerce. This gave the holders of the communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce an illusion. They were already on par with the holders of the Langya communication talisman, or even at a higher level. Because of this view, during this period of time, conflicts and fights have constantly arisen between the two groups of low-level practitioners. The onlookers were talking about it. It seems as if a dispute is about to break out. What surprised the three major chambers of commerce and all practitioners was, it is clearly the Langya Chamber of Commerce that is at the center of the storm. There has been no response these days. Let the situation develop. There is a kind of firm momentum that no matter how turbulent the situation is, I will remain unmoved. Comfortable. In the warm spiritual spring. Wang Xiu closed his eyes, opened his hands, and fell backwards casually. Several maids in thin clothes stood in the water, their beautiful and moving curves faintly visible in the water. They caught Wang Xiu and then gently wiped his body. Feel the warmth within reach. Wang Xiu couldn't help but let out a low moan of enjoyment. Ever since he started investing and preparing for the Ascension Conference, he almost moved to Tianhuang Island and has not enjoyed life on Changsheng Island for some time. But right now, just enough time to spare. Young master, according to your wishes, I bought several communication symbols from the three major chambers of commerce and sent them to the weapon refining pavilion. I asked Miss Xia to help open them and examine them. This is the result. Ni Tingting secretly glanced at the muscular lines on Wang Xiu's back, her face turned slightly red, and she quickly lowered her head. Wang Xiu took the jade slip handed to him and began to examine it. The differences in various performances between the two communication symbols are clearly stated above. After just a few glances, he lost interest. The performance and quality of the things were worse than he had imagined. They don't realize the importance of the communication symbol at all. They are so careless about quality control. They will suffer in the end. A cave mansion. Two monks are having a small gathering. Lu Xing was holding the Weiyu level candle dragon communication talisman that he had just bought at a high price, and he couldn't let it go. So pretty, so beautiful. On the side, his good friend Lin Jia couldn't help but say, Brother Lu, you've been holding the communication symbol for a long time, why don't you put it down and have a drink? Hearing this, Lu Xing reluctantly put the communication symbol on the table, took a look at the dishes on the table, and suddenly remembered something, saying, it would be too boring for just the two of us to drink, why not call more like-minded people to get together? Lin Jia hesitated slightly, that's fine. Lu Xing quickly picked up the communication symbol again, I'll contact them right away, Brother Lin, please sit down for a while. Seeing this, Lin Jia's face twitched slightly, knowing that this guy was still excited and wanted to show off. Hey, fellow Taoist Su, oh, it's me. This light and shadow you're talking about, yes, it's the new communication talisman that the Penglai Chamber of Commerce bought. The way you level, it cost me nearly 2,000 spirit stones. Hey, fellow Taoist, it's been a while. Why don't we meet at my cave mansion tonight? Fellow Taoist Huang, how did you know I got a new communication symbol? Oh, it's not very valuable, less than 2,000 spirit stones. As a cultivator, I should always be nicer to myself. Quote. Lu Xing contacted more than 10 monks continuously. It wasn't until he couldn't think of anyone else to call after a long time that he stopped with a feeling of unfulfilled desire. Hiss, Brother Lu, is your communication symbol getting a little hot? Lin Jia suddenly spoke, staring at Lu Xing's communication symbol, surprised and suspicious. Practitioners have keen perception. Although I haven't tried it yet, I can still clearly feel the heat coming towards me. What's the hotness? How can it be hot? Lu Xing denied it. This is my enthusiasm. I'm happy today, my blood is boiling, and I have a little fever. It's normal. Yeah, Lin Jia was a little unconvinced, but he didn't know what to say. Lu Xing suddenly slapped his thigh and said, by the way, shopkeeper Li from Dongshenglo hasn't called yet. I'll contact him again. Lin Jia raised his eyebrows. Brother Lu, you and shopkeeper Li should have only met once, right? Is it appropriate to invite him to this occasion? Lu Xing said seriously, people of our generation who practice cultivation, how can we be bound by the secular world? We should act according to our nature. Although shopkeeper Li and I have only met once, we feel like old friends from the first sight, which is better than 100 years of friendship. Quote. Hey, shopkeeper Li, how are you these days? What? Who am I? I'm Lu Xing. I met him 2 years ago. Have you forgotten? You are such a forgetful person, but it doesn't matter. Let's have a drink and I'll remember it. You are so polite. Come on. Quote. Lin Jia's eyelids twitched as he listened, and he felt extremely embarrassed. Shopkeeper Li clearly doesn't want to come to this drinking party. But Lu Xing acted as if he would not end the call unless the other party came. He was extremely thick-skinned and shameless. Manager Li is a businessman and he won't say anything that is absolutely certain. Finally, after he pestered him for more than half an hour, Manager Li finally agreed to have a couple of drinks. Lu Xing put down the communication symbol with satisfaction, took a sip of wine, and felt refreshed. This shopkeeper Li is just shy, it took a long time for him to come. Brother Lin, why don't you say anything? He turned his head and found Lin Jia staring at his communication symbol with a hint of doubt in his eyes. Brother Lu, is your communication symbol smoking? Lu Xing looked down. Sure enough, wisps of white smoke emanated from the communication talisman. Hiss. Could it be that this is also a kind of strange phenomenon? Interesting, Lu Xing said in surprise. Quote. Lin Jia swallowed his saliva. I don't think this is a strange phenomenon. Brother Lu, how about we put it further away? Lu Xing smiled contemptuously. Brother Lin, how can you be so timid? This is a communication symbol that I spent nearly 2,000 spirit stones to buy. I have only used it for 1 day. Is it possible that it will explode? Lin Jia's mouth twitched slightly. It's hard to say, it's not the first time that the 3 major chambers of commerce have done something like this. Lu Xing frowned. Brother Lin, I know you bought the communication talisman of Langya Chamber of Commerce, but you shouldn't slander the 3 major chambers of commerce, Penglai and Yunlai, right? Seeing that Lin Jia still had a distrustful expression, Lu Xing shook his head and picked up the communication symbol again. Watch out. Even if I use it to contact 100 more people, nothing will happen. As he spoke, he made a hand gesture and injected a wisp of spiritual energy. The communication symbol glowed again. At the same time, Lin Jia opened his eyes wide and saw that the white smoke was becoming thicker and thicker. Puffs of it were coming out and gathering above the cave mansion like dark clouds. And the runes on the surface of the communication symbol light up. He also became extremely irritable and unstable. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 86 Vermilion Bird Breaks Through the Air, Emergency Communication. Brother Lu, stop it. At this moment, Lu Xing also felt something was wrong and was a little panicked, but he still tried to remain calm. Don't worry, nothing will happen, isn't it just a little bit of smoke? The words haven't finished yet. The communication symbol in his hand suddenly turned into a dazzling red light, followed by a loud bang. A large number of runes exploded. His body was blown away like a torn cloth, hit the wall, and completely fainted. Lin Jia, an unnamed deserted island. Several rainbow lights passed through the low sky. Several young disciples from the Ohara sect, led by Great Master Brother Zhang Cheng, came to kill several evil cultivators. At the bottom of a valley surrounded by dangerous peaks, several people stopped. Brother Great Master, the aura of those evil cultivators disappeared near here. Second Brother Zhongwei looked solemn as he looked at the tracking talisman that kept circling in his hand like a headless fly and said. Zhang Cheng frowned and said, search separately. They are injured and can't run far. Yes. Several people dispersed and moved. The surroundings became increasingly quiet, with only the rustling sound of their footsteps on the snow. Just at this moment, one person shouted loudly, "Oh no, there's a trap." Several people looked over when they heard the sound. A pitch-black spear dropped from the sky, surrounded by black fog. There were bursts of wailing sounds coming from it, and it gave off a creepy and cold aura, piercing through the disciple who had raised the alarm. It seemed that the disciple was about to be killed on the spot. Zhang Cheng reacted quickly, slapped his storage bag, and a circular magic shield flew out. Then bite the tip of your tongue. The essence and blood sprayed onto the magic shield, which glowed brightly. Red runes lingered in the air, swirling and flying out, protecting the disciple at an extremely astonishing speed. A roar. The pitch-black spear was knocked away. The magic shield trembled for a moment, and its light dimmed a lot, but it was ultimately intact. The young disciple under his protection also saved his life. He was gasping for breath with a pale face and an expression of having survived a disaster. However, Zhang Cheng's expression was extremely solemn. It was because, in all directions, at some unknown time, pale ghost flags rose up one after another, with talisman crafting words painted on them with the blood of unknown creatures, emitting an extremely sinister and evil aura. The ghost flag swayed, and in an instant it grew taller in the wind, covering the sky and the sun. Thick black fog gathered from all directions, and the sounds of crying, whistling, and screaming were endless, making people feel irritated and almost want to vomit blood. Faintly one can see faces of old, young, male and female floating in it. 10,000 souls heavenly evil formation. Zhang Cheng's face became more and more ugly. This was an extremely famous evil killing formation, which required the heart blood of 10,000 old men, old women, young boys and young girls as bait. It is also necessary to take their lives when their resentment is the deepest, and refine their souls into ghosts. Only then can this formation be set up. Extremely powerful and vicious. This is a big trouble. You are quite knowledgeable. This formation has just been completed, so I can use the lives and souls of you as nutrients. Outside the big formation, several men and women dressed strangely sneered at the people in the formation, confident of victory. Brother, what should we do now? Second junior brother, fourth junior sister, the three of us will form a 3-star formation and can hold them off for a while. The rest of you, protect the little junior sister and use the communication talisman to contact the sect elders and master immediately. Zhang Cheng made a prompt decision. The two monks, a man and a woman, who were pointed out by him nodded heavily, stood up, held the law treasure in their hands, stepped on the 3 talents, and their auras were faintly connected and began to surge. Fight against this evil formation. The evil formation is extremely dangerous, with evil forces constantly pouring out from the black fog and attacking from various angles, making it impossible to defend against. Although the 3 of them were the best among the disciples, they were young after all, and their cultivation was still shallow, so it was quite difficult for them to resist. And the rest of the disciples? They were all in a panic and took out communication symbols, trying to contact the sect. However, soon, they discovered that the strange images emitted from the Phoenix and Kirin communication symbols in their hands flew into the air and were directly forced back by the formation, like headless flies, flying around in it. It's impossible to fly out. Oh no, this formation can block the communication symbol. What? Zhang Cheng's heart sank and he regretted it to the extreme. They chased those evil cultivators all the way and always had the upper hand, but they never expected that at the last moment, they were careless and fell into such an ambush. His death is not a pity, but these young brothers and sisters will also be implicated by him and lose their lives at a young age. Especially the junior sister, who is the treasure of the old master. If she dies here, he will be unforgivable. Keep trying, don't stop. His eyes turned red, and the magic power in his body poured out as if it was free. He controlled the law treasure and continuously defeated the attacking evil spirits. The blazing spiritual light made him look even more tragic. The light here is blazing and dazzling, and terrifying waves of sound are constantly surging out. The other disciples gritted their teeth and tried again and again, hoping to get the message out. Every time you delay, the crisis becomes more serious. But no matter what they did, the information sent by the communication symbol was always blocked by the formation and could not penetrate at all. Finally, there was a click, the communication symbol shattered, a large number of runes scattered, and it exploded directly. Oh my god, my hand. Ah, how so? What kind of rubbish is this communication symbol? It's a brilliant moon-class symbol that costs nearly 2,000 spirit stones, and it's so inferior. It's a waste of my many spirit stones. They are useless at the critical moment. Hateful. Quote. At this moment, the beautiful girl who was protected in the crowd bit her pale lips and said, "How about I give it a try?" Everyone looked over subconsciously. I saw the junior sister took out a Hao-Yu level vermilion bird communication symbol from her arms. The communication symbol of the Langya brand. It's good to try. Quote. The few of them did not hold out much hope. After all, in the publicity of the three major chambers of commerce, their Wei-Yu level communication talisman was benchmarked against the Langya brand's Hao-Yu communication talisman. Same level of stuff. How big can the gap be? But at this time, as long as there is a glimmer of hope, we have to give it a try. Under the gaze of everyone, the junior sister took a deep breath, input a strand of spiritual power with a serious expression, and found her father in the communication list. Head of the Ohara sect. Buzz. The next moment, the communication symbol emitted a fiery red light, and an enchanting and beautiful vermilion bird flew up gracefully, with a crimson glow on its tail. It circled in the air and then shot out of the formation. Suddenly, the formation that had originally intercepted the communication symbols of the other three chambers of commerce seemed to be completely useless at this moment. He was directly broken through by vermilion bird and disappeared into the sky. At the same time, clang, a cry. The vermilion bird communication symbol in the junior sister's hand trembled slightly, and a picture appeared in front of her. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Father. Metropolitan. FK, it worked. Chapter 87. It's so scary, this communication symbol will explode. The sky was covered with dark clouds and the wind was howling. The sky and the earth were pitch black. The rain was getting heavier, and big raindrops were falling with a crackling sound. The eaves along the street became more and more dark blue under the heavy rain, and fine raindrops kept falling like a bead curtain. The smooth bluestone became wet. Practitioners will naturally not slip because of this. But their steps were hurried. Everyone's face was extremely dark, just like the eaves along the street. Where are the people from Penglai Chamber of Commerce? Come out. Swindler, you sold us inferior goods. Give us your money back. A group of people gathered at the door of a Penglai branch, their faces filled with anger, their fists clenched and veins exposed. Among the crowd, there was a figure lying on a stretcher. He looked extremely sick and his breathing was weak. It was obvious that he was seriously injured. The shouting grew louder. When the clerk at the semicolon saw this scene, he hurried into the room and called out the shopkeeper. What are you arguing about? The shopkeeper Tong of this branch was sleepy and full of anger. Business in their store is booming these days. He was rewarded with a beautiful maid. He had worked all night and now was the time to rest. Being called out from her peaceful life, she naturally didn't look happy. The communication talismans you sold injured someone. You must give us an explanation today. Lin Jia, who was in the lead, said loudly. Did anyone get hurt? Shopkeeper Tong was stunned for a moment, then he noticed the stretcher in the crowd and frowned slightly. What nonsense are you talking about? How could the communication symbol explode? Lin Jia sneered, we should be the ones asking you this question. Why did the communication symbol explode? As he spoke, he spread out his palms, revealing a piece of metal that had already been charred beyond recognition and was simply wrapped in a few pieces of cloth. But we can still judge from some details that this was originally a Wei-Yu level communication symbol sold by the Penglai Chamber of Commerce. Shopkeeper Tong took it and looked at it carefully. My heart skipped a beat. He secretly cursed the group of artifact refining masters hired by the headquarters for being so damn unreliable. A communication talisman could explode after being refined. Isn't this intended to harm those low-level businessmen like them? But it's just thought. This is definitely not something that can be admitted now. Otherwise the trouble will never end. He took a deep breath and said expressionlessly, How can you prove that it was the one that injured someone just by looking at a broken communication symbol? Did you use the recording beads to record the scene at that time? Lin Jia found it unreasonable. It happened so suddenly, who could prepare something like the photo retaining beads in advance? Shopkeeper Tong took a serious attitude and said, in this case, there is nothing we can do. Lin Jia asked, what do you mean? You don't intend to admit it? Shopkeeper Tong stood on the steps, looking down at everyone, and asked seriously, without evidence, what can I admit? After a pause, he continued, of course, we at Penglai Chamber of Commerce don't want to see this happen to our guests. These 500 spirit stones are a token of our appreciation from Penglai Chamber of Commerce. Looking at the condescending attitude of Shopkeeper Tong, he glanced at the spirit stone that the other party took out. Lin Jia and his fellow monks found it extremely absurd. I was so angry that I laughed. You sold a brilliant moon-class communication charm for 1,688 spirit stones. Fellow Taoist Lu bought it for less than a day before it exploded. He is now seriously injured. What do you mean by paying these 500 spirit stones as compensation? Are you sending away a beggar? Hey! Shopkeeper Tong waved his hand and warned, my guest, please watch your words. Whether the communication symbol really exploded remains to be investigated. We are just expressing our kindness, not compensation. But you spread rumors and damage the reputation of our Chamber of Commerce, which is a big deal. Okay everyone, it's time to disperse. My Chamber of Commerce still needs to do business. How can you block the door like this? After saying that, Shopkeeper Tong turned around and went into the house. He ignored the pairs of angry eyes behind him. The guy next to him was a little scared. Boss, is this really okay? Do you want me to comfort him again? Shopkeeper Tong's mind was full of the charming figure of the beauty in his room. He waved his hand and said, don't pay any attention to them. They are just a bunch of ants. If they dare to make trouble again, please ask the worshippers in the building to take action and suppress them directly. Yes. In the opinion of Shopkeeper Tong, the explosion of the communication talisman was just an accident. The money was also given. And the person is not dead. Their Penglai Chamber of Commerce is a huge and powerful company. How dare those monks with low cultivation level offend them? Outside the door, the group of monks looked at the direction where Manager Tong disappeared, gritting their teeth but unable to do anything. They are just low-level monks. How to fight against the Penglai Chamber of Commerce with a powerful background? Brother Lin, what should we do? Alas, when Brother Lu bought the Penglai Chamber of Commerce communication talisman that day, I had already reminded him, but he was blinded by the momentary meager benefits. Lin Jia sighed. Upon hearing this, the others also showed regret on their faces. Among this group of people, only Lin Jia bought the communication token of Langya Chamber of Commerce, while the others all bought tokens from the three major chambers of commerce. These three chambers of commerce are in cahoots with each other. The communication symbol of Penglai Chamber of Commerce is like this, and the other two are probably the same. No need to look. I've tried it this morning. After communicating 6 or 7 times in a row, the communication symbol started to heat up. After more than 10 times, it started to smoke. The material of this communication symbol is too poor. It can't bear the frequent operation of the formation. I spent so much spirit stones, and ended up buying something like this. It's really not worth the trouble. Lin Jia looked at the miserable expressions of the fellow Taoists, took a deep breath, and consoled them. Don't worry too much, there may be a chance for this to turn around. Everyone raised their heads and looked at him. Oh. Since the communication symbols of most of the three major chambers of commerce are like this, why don't we unite many people and speak out together? No matter how big his three chambers of commerce are, they are still businessmen after all. At worst, let's spread their bad reputation throughout the entire North Sea and get everyone to come together to fight him. Can he still silence all of us? Good. That makes sense, let's do it. Quote. Fellow Taoist Zheng, have you heard? The communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce will explode. Me, really? It can't be fake at all. I saw it with my own eyes. You have any impression of fellow Taoist Lu Xinglu, right? He was injured by the communication symbol and is still unconscious. Let me try. Quote. Senior Wu, how are you these days? I'm not looking for you for anything important. I just heard that you bought the communication charms of the three major chambers of commerce. I want to remind you that those things will explode. Quote. I didn't lie to you. Do you know Lu Xing? He was blown up and seriously injured. All 3 of his legs were blown off. Quote, quote. Fairy Lu, did you also buy the communication charms from the 3 major chambers of commerce? What? You bought the one from Langya Chamber of Commerce. Oh, if anyone around you has bought one from the other 3 major chambers of commerce, remember to remind them, because that thing will explode. Quote, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, quote. Really? I swear, I'm not lying to you. You know fellow Taoist Lu Xinglu, he was blown up, so miserable, his body was shattered, only a wisp of soul was left. Quote, quote. For fellow Taoists Sao, Li, Ma, and Di, you must be careful and remind the people around you that the communication symbols of the 3 major chambers of commerce will explode. We have a fellow Taoist named Lu Xinglu here, and he was blown up. His soul was completely destroyed and he couldn't even enter reincarnation. It's so scary. Quote, quote. Chapter 88. Isn't this bullying honest people? The power of hatred is enormous. This hatred may not necessarily come from their desire to seek justice for Lu Xing. The 3 major chambers of commerce sold them defective products with major safety hazards at high prices and at low prices. Moreover, their attitude was so arrogant after the incident, and they did not take them seriously at all. This condescending attitude. This is the driving force behind the monks around Lin Jia's desperate desire for revenge. So, over the next few days, they began to send messages to people they knew in the immortal cultivation world. No matter how close or distant the relationship is, as long as the other party will answer the call, tell them about it. There are many monks who have not discovered similar problems yet, or have noticed some but they are not obvious. After all, few people have the need to communicate a lot in a short period of time. Until they reminded me. These people suddenly realized. Then I quickly tried it and found that it was true. I was so scared that I broke out in a cold sweat. Then he held up the communication symbol with indignation and cursed the 3 major chambers of commerce as unscrupulous and profiteers. Then use this communication symbol to quickly contact the people around you. After all, nowadays, there are quite a few monks who have bought communication symbols from the 3 major chambers of commerce. Oh no, I need to take a break. Inside a cave mansion. Lin Jia and several other monks sat together. Several people threw the communication symbols onto the table almost at the same time. After communicating more than 10 times in a row, the communication symbol is so hot that I feel like it's going to explode. Let's switch to the old paper communication charms. Even though they're a bit ugly, they're at least safe. Hey, Brother Lin, I see you have contacted more than 20 people, don't you feel anything at all? Lin Jia glanced at his Azure Dragon communication talisman of the Chen star level and shook his head. It's just a little warm, not the burning sensation of the 3 major chambers of commerce. That's amazing. Brother Lin's communication talisman is only worth a little over 100 spirit stones, but it's much more powerful than my brilliant moon class 1. It has to be the Langya Chamber of Commerce. Whether it's the materials or the artifact refining technology, they are far from comparable to those profiteers from the 3 major chambers of commerce. Conscientious Chamber of Commerce, I really regret this. I'll be a dog if I buy anything from the 3 major chambers of commerce again. Quote. Listening to the discussions of several people, Lin Jia smiled slightly and held the communication symbol a little tighter. With the efforts of a group of people. The news that the communication symbols of the 3 major chambers of commerce would explode when they became hot spread throughout the North Sea at an alarming speed. Caused an uproar. Countless people have started discussions on this issue on various islands. Miaoyan Tower. In the private room, several monks of extraordinary bearing were listening to music and talking about this topic while listening. The quality of the communication charms of the 3 major chambers of commerce is indeed poor. Last time, my wife was fighting with someone, and she was only slightly scratched, and the communication charm broke directly. The middle-aged monk in a purple robe and with a goatee shook his head and sighed. Quote. Hearing this, the monk next to him twitched his mouth slightly. Fellow Taoist Yan, you are being unreasonable. After all, the communication talisman is not a law treasure. Isn't it normal to be damaged by the fluctuations of the battle? That's right, it doesn't matter whose communication symbol you use. No, the monk surnamed Yan said confidently, my sun-level communication talisman is not like this. You should know that a few days ago, I went with several elders and elite disciples from the sect to wipe out a group of monster cultivators that were killing mortals. During the fight, I was careless for a moment and was hit in the chest by a monster soldier refined from the monster bone of one of the monster cultivators. I thought I was going to die, but in the end, maybe it was my destiny. The monster cultivator's full-strength attack hit the communication symbol and saved my life. Quote. As soon as these words were spoken, the room suddenly became quiet for a moment. Then there was a sound of people sucking in their breath. Brother Yan, are you serious? Why would I lie to you? The monk surnamed Yan blew his beard and slammed his communication symbol on the table. If you don't believe me, check it out for yourself. Everyone lowered their heads and looked carefully with their spiritual sense. At first glance, the communication symbol appeared intact. But if you look closely, you will find that there is a small dent in the azure dragon pattern on the back, in which there are obvious remnants of monstrous power. Feel the powerful aura contained in the monstrous power. Several people's expressions changed. Is it true? This is too bizarre. Can a communication charm be used as a defensive spirit weapon? Quote. Their faces were full of disbelief. Then, looking at the valuable communication tokens of the three major chambers of commerce in his hand, the more he looked at them, the more he wanted to throw them away. It's my own, and there's a risk of it getting damaged if it's just touched. Others can be used as a defensive spirit weapon. After blocking a fatal blow, it still looks intact and can be used normally. The gap widened in an instant. If this is put out there, who would dare to believe that the prices of the two communication symbols are almost the same? Damn it. I spent almost the same amount of money, but the things I bought were so different. I'm going to settle accounts with those profiteers from the three major chambers of commerce. I'm going to. You must give us an explanation today, or at least return our money. Quote. Public opinion is becoming more and more powerful. Gradually, the various defects in the communication talismans produced by the three major chambers of commerce were exposed by different cultivators. For example, their communication symbols and the spirit transformation formation imprinted inside were of crude workmanship. This results in the spirit stone consumption rate being several times faster than that of the Langya Chamber of Commerce. A monk bought it and charged 10 spirit stones into it on the first day. Logically, it should be able to communicate at least 1,000 times. But after half a month, the system communicated a total of 200 or 300 times, and then it indicated that the energy was insufficient. Some monks, who were not short of money, charged a middle-grade spirit stone at one time. Guess what? Exploded. Directly blew off half of the monk's arm. The scene was bloody. If we say that the exposure of these things one by one is still the accumulation stage before the outbreak. But the next piece of news completely ignited the anger of all the practitioners who purchased the communication talismans from the three major chambers of commerce. Yesterday, the leader of the nascent soul sect, Daewon sect, personally led the elders and true disciples of the sect to the local Langya branch to express his gratitude. They also presented a plaque with the words, "Helping those in need," inscribed on it. The reason is that all their elite disciples were ambushed by evil cultivator not long ago. As a result, the communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce all became ineffective and exploded. Only the communication symbol of the Langya Chamber of Commerce broke through the evil cultivator's formation blockade and successfully conveyed the message, allowing the sect to provide timely rescue. Otherwise, the O'Hara clan will face the risk of the young generation being cut off. As soon as the news came out, all the practitioners could no longer sit still. I originally thought, even though the materials and workmanship of the two communication symbols are inferior, their basic communication functions should be similar. But I didn't expect it. In such a crucial place, there is such an astonishing gap. Once you encounter danger, your communication symbol will stop working. Then what use do I have for you? You are not as good as others in any way, yet you dare to sell at a price almost as high as theirs. Who gave you the courage? Isn't this bullying honest people? Chapter 89 The Straw That Broke the Camel's Back. In just a few days, the anger of consumers almost ignited the entire ocean. Within the North Sea, all branches of the three major chambers of commerce encountered attacks from the rights protection teams spontaneously organized by the monks. Either return the goods or smash the store. At the beginning, those shopkeepers were still arrogant, thinking that this group of monks who were put together in a hurry would not dare to do anything to them. They even asked powerful priests in charge of various branches to threaten and persuade them to withdraw. The result was tragic. Among the monks who purchased the communication symbols of the three major chambers of commerce, there are also many powerful independent cultivators or Immortal Gate elders. They led the crowd and overturned one branch after another, suppressing the people from the three major chambers of commerce. Until then, The talents from the three major chambers of commerce began to feel fearful, but it was too late. Among them, a shopkeeper named Tong suffered the most tragic death. It is said that he was pulled out of the concubine's bed, both of them were naked, his cultivation was destroyed, and he was seriously injured. Then it was thrown directly into the sea. Geneva, give your money back. Give me back. Give me back. The Penglai Chamber of Commerce has lost all conscience and killed people. This is unforgivable. Quote. Parades began to appear frequently on many well-known large islands in Beihai. At the same time, inside the Penglai headquarters, Tang Qian and his men were in a state of panic. Oh no, something really happened. We have received millions of requests for refunds and returns, and we are about to be unable to hold back. Lu Yanshuang's previous delicate and arrogant look was gone. As one of the few female senior executives in the Yungang Chamber of Commerce, she always presented herself with a graceful and elegant image. Now he looks haggard and his eyes are dim. She was a little confused. The situation was very good just a few days ago. The communication symbols of their three major chambers of commerce occupied more than half of the market in Beihai. There is hope of regaining the lost business. But it seemed like everything changed overnight. Hundreds of Chamber of Commerce branches across the country were smashed in just a few days. The few that were not smashed were also filled with mountains of refund and return applications. The situation is worse than ever before. It made her lose her composure for a moment. Go Anshi was also confused. Is the quality of our communication talisman really that bad? It shouldn't be that bad, right? Why is it that the rumors outside are so outrageous now? Some even say that we are selling thunderstorm talismans under the guise of selling communication talismans. Tang Qian explained, in order to quickly occupy the market, we ask those forging workshops to complete the work as quickly as possible. If the speed is too fast, the quality will inevitably be uneven. But no matter what, it's not that bad. At most, the fever will be more frequent. In fact, many times, they may not explode even if they continue to use it. But those practitioners are timid and dare not take the risk, thinking that it will definitely explode if it gets hot. Quote. Hearing this, Go Anshi and Lu Yanshuang both had their mouths twitching slightly. In this case, it's normal that they don't dare to gamble. After all, the monk who was first bombed is said to have had his soul annihilated and has forever been transcending the cycle of reincarnation. That's bullshit, pure bullshit. Tang Qian couldn't help but curse. I don't know who spread this rumor. It's just a communication symbol. Even if it explodes, how can it be so powerful? There was a slight silence. In fact, they all knew in their hearts that it was meaningless to pursue those things now. After all, even if there is some exaggeration for the great accomplishment points, the explosion of the communication symbol is real, and it is also true that people were injured. This is hard to wash. Tang Qian pursed his lips, pondered for a moment, and said, Now, if we want to calm the public anger and public opinion, there is only one way. Lu Yanshuang looked at him. What? Tang Qian said. Spread some of the problems with the Langya communication talisman. Tell everyone that the Langya communication talisman also has signs of fever and quality problems, and divert their attention. At the same time, we will find those people whose communication symbols exploded, give them substantial compensation, express our apologies, and state that this was only an extremely accidental phenomenon. Then, it was announced that from today onwards, all communication symbols produced by our three major chambers of commerce can be repaired free of charge if there are problems within 10 years of purchase. A multi-pronged approach may be able to minimize the impact. Lu Yanshuang's eyes lit up slightly. Tang Qian has a thorough understanding of the problem. Why are the monks making trouble? One is to vent one's anger. The second is to gain benefits for oneself. Those who were injured want compensation, and those who felt they had made a loss want their money back. If you follow Tang Qian's method, first divert attention, then appease the group of people who are making the most trouble, use huge benefits to shut their mouths and divide them. And give some sweet treats to all those who bought their communication symbols. To show sincerity, repairing the communication symbols for free within 10 years certainly meant losing a lot of money. But it's much better than letting the situation develop as it is. However, just finished speaking, Go Anshi looked bitter. What's wrong? Tang Qian frowned, having a bad feeling in his heart. It doesn't work. Go Anshi placed his communication symbol on the desktop. Light and shadow flickered on the screen, and messages floated by. After seeing the content, the three people fell silent at the same time. Someone has sorted out the differences between the Langya communication talisman and the communication talismans of the other three major chambers of commerce. including material gaps, process gaps, performance gaps and so on. Question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark. Incredibly detailed. Even as the heads of the three major chambers of commerce, they were unable to refute any of the contents. These things were written on paper and spread everywhere, and have spread throughout the entire North Sea area. See this scene. Lu Yanshuang's face turned pale, and she slumped in her chair, her eyes dim and despair rising in her heart. Bang! Tang Qian slammed his hand on the table, his face twitching and veins exposed. Who did this? Langya Chamber of Commerce. Go Anshi shook his head. From the information we have received so far, it is an independent cultivator named Lin Jia. Whether it is related to the Langya Chamber of Commerce still needs to be investigated. Investigation. Bullshit investigation. Tang Qian's chest was almost filled with murderous intent, but more of it was resentment and anger. As soon as this paper appeared, it was the last straw that broke the camel's back and added fuel to the already hot situation. Uncle. A figure appeared outside the door. Tang Qian's pupils shrank and his body trembled subconsciously. The old man was dressed in a coarse linen shirt, with a respectful expression, neither humble nor arrogant. The president is looking for you. Tang Qian took a deep breath and said, I understand. I'll be there later. The old man still stood there, his expression unchanged, looking at him quietly. Quote. Tang Qian secretly clenched his fist, then quickly released it and looked at Go Anshi and the other two. Let's talk about it when I come back. After saying that, he walked straight out the door. The old man made way, watched Tang Qian walk past him, nodded to the two people in the house, and then followed him away. The house was quiet for a long time. Go Anshi was the first to sigh. We lost. A few years ago, the three major chambers of commerce, led by Peng Lai, jointly entered the Beihai and forcibly swallowed up the market of the Langya Chamber of Commerce in an almost barbaric manner. In the early stage, they swept across the country like a whirlwind, and relying on financial resources that were several times that of the Langya Chamber of Commerce, they took root in this sea area. Steal a lot of business from the Langya Chamber of Commerce. And now, it was only a month or two. The young master of Langya used many surprising moves, going against the trend and launching a set of completely incomprehensible combination punches. The change made their efforts over the past few years seem to have gone to waste. Especially this battle of communication symbols. It can be said to be the last straw that broke the camel's back. Chapter 90. The Three Chambers of Commerce Fleeing. Beihai is the home ground of Langya Chamber of Commerce after all. Listening to Go Anshi's words, Lu Yanshuang bit her lips lightly, with a hint of stubbornness on her delicate face. Some people are reluctant to admit that they have been defeated so completely. But at the same time, she was very clear. They did lose. After this battle over the communication symbol, the reputation of their three major chambers of commerce in the North Sea has become a bad place. If that were all, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But there is a sharp contrast like the Langya Chamber of Commerce. Consumers will make their own choices. Who will come to support the business of their three major chambers of commerce? Go Anshi said, to be honest, I have never figured out how we lost. Lu Yanshuang glanced at him, a little surprised, and thought to herself, so you feel the same way. Isn't she the same, from beginning to end? Except for the time when young Master Langya first held the Ascension Conference, they underestimated the enemy. After that, every time the Langya Chamber of Commerce made some small moves, they would sit down and analyze them seriously, thinking about how to break the situation and how to prevent the other party from getting what they wanted. Let's look at the Langya Chamber of Commerce. 1. Did not launch commercial raids or counterattacks against them. 2. We did not engage in a price war with them. Even the Langya Chamber of Commerce had never done anything against their three major chambers of commerce. It's like he's just doing his own thing. Then, their three major chambers of commerce naturally collapsed. It was as if a few rabbits bumped into an elephant that was walking forward firmly. The elephant was unaware but almost killed the rabbits. It was only until just now that I vaguely realized that we lost in the overall situation. General trend. Yes. Go Anshi nodded. This general trend is the people's will, reputation, development and change, in this world. And this general trend is ultimately driven by young Master Langya. Lu Yanshuang looked at Go Anshi deeply and said, isn't this evaluation too high? Go Anshi shook his head. Not at all, I would rather admit that I underestimated him. It can be seen from the fact that he established a foundation that his vision and pattern are far beyond what we businessmen can compare with. What we care about is profit. What he values is whether what he sees is changed or shifted by his thoughts. Quote. So although he seems to be spending money to organize the Immortal Ascension Conference and the Foundation to help those low-level creatures to open up the path to immortality, he is actually winning the hearts of the people all over the world. And where the people's hearts go is also where the world's wealth goes, so the more he spends, the more money he can make. Quote. Lu Yanchuang listened and thought, and felt that what Go Anshi said made some sense, and gradually became silent. Go Anshi suddenly revealed a hint of self-mockery at the corner of his mouth. Besides, I think he has never regarded us as his opponents. He has been laying out the overall situation and promoting the general trend. With the general trend, anyone who wants to hinder it will naturally be wiped out without him having to do anything. Quote. Lu Yanchuang frowned slightly. Even if the business in Beihai can't continue, it won't have a big impact on the foundation of our three major chambers of commerce. It's nothing more than a waste of a few years. How can you make it sound like our major chambers of commerce are about to be destroyed? The base of the three major chambers of commerce is not in the Beihai area. They are just intruders. Even if the invasion fails and we retreat, what impact will it have? In the North Sea, which is the territory of the Beiming Sacred Land, it is naturally extremely difficult to target the Langya Chamber of Commerce. But once we leave this area and come to their territory, with the support of the forces behind them, can the Langya Chamber of Commerce still have such smooth sailing? How is that possible? Go Anshi opened his mouth, but in the end he didn't say what he was thinking. The room was brightly lit. But for some reason, people can't feel the light, as if there is a thick haze covering their hearts. The man sat in the shadows. The breath was as cold as an iceberg in the deep sea. Father. Tang Qian hung his hands and lowered his head, like a child who had made a mistake. Chu Shanhong looked at him and said expressionlessly, starting tomorrow, my Penglai Chamber of Commerce will withdraw all its business in Beihai. Tang Qian's pupil shrank slightly. Dad, I haven't lost yet, give me another chance, there is still a chance. Chu Shanhong didn't say anything, just looked at him quietly. That gaze was calm, just like the inky black sea water at night, making Tang Qian's heart cold, as if something was blocking his throat. You said you wanted revenge and wanted to take away everything Wang Xiu had, but now it seems that you don't have the ability to do so. I know you don't want to accept it. But you have to admit that the young master of the Wang family never considered you as an opponent from the beginning to the end. To put it bluntly, this game of communication symbols is nothing more than an old man teasing a naughty child. Hearing these merciless words, Tang Qian's face felt like it was burning. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, but he couldn't say anything to refute. Chu Shanhong looked at him and said, I treat you as half a son, so I tell you this so that you don't waste your time. You have a strong talent, so spend more time on cultivation. In the world of cultivation, strength is ultimately what matters. There is more than one way to get revenge. Tang Qian didn't say anything. He was eager for revenge, so he never thought about practicing step by step until he could crush the Wang family before taking revenge. That would take too long. Maybe it will take decades, or even more. After all, the Wang family is so powerful that they have several Earth Immortals. The most crucial point is, as everyone knows, Wang Xiu is unable to practice cultivation. In other words, if he practiced diligently until he had the ability to take revenge and then came out to take action, it is very likely that Wang Mu's lifespan would end. This is definitely not what he wants. He must kill Wang Xiu with his own hands to relieve the hatred in his heart. Therefore, he wanted to take advantage of the situation and was not afraid to marry into the Penglai Chamber of Commerce. With the help of the Chamber of Commerce and the forces behind it, he could disintegrate the power of the Wang family and defeat them one by one. But now, this possibility seems to be shattered. It seemed as if he could see what he was thinking. Chu Shanhong slowly stood up and patted him on the shoulder. You are not the only one in this world who wants the Wang family to be destroyed. Don't dwell on this. After saying, he left. Tang Qian noticed that Chu Shanhong left a jade slip on the table. He walked forward, held the jade slip in his hand, and his spiritual sense swept over it, and his body trembled suddenly. Huang Tianhuang followed the secret order of the young emperor of the great Xia Immortal dynasty, formed alliances, swept through the 18 princes, brought them under his command, named the Great Wilderness Army, and intended to serve the king. A few days later, Tianju Island, Langya Foundation headquarters. Young master, the people from the three major chambers of commerce have all evacuated from the North Sea. So soon, Wang Xiu stopped writing and looked up with a hint of surprise. The number of communication symbols they sold is as high as tens of millions. Now there is a problem, and they are unwilling to refund. If I don't leave now, I'm afraid I won't be able to leave. Ni Tingting said. Hearing this, Wang Xiu shook his head and said, what a sin. Ni Tingting seemed very happy and said with a smile, from now on, we don't have to deal with those guys anymore, that's great. Wang Xiu glanced at her and said, then you might be too happy too early. Quote. It's not polite to come without returning the favor. These people have been wreaking havoc in my North Sea for many years and have taken away countless spirit stones. Now I am leaving and I have been cheated out of a large sum of money. I have to settle this account. Wang Xiu put down his pen and stretched lazily. At least, we have to go to their place and earn 10 or 8 billion to be fair. Chapter 91. Take your business to land. For a business to reach the level of the 4 major chambers of commerce, there must be a powerful force behind it to support it. Just like the Langya Chamber of Commerce, it not only has the support of the Beiming Sacred Land, but also has the support of the Wei Palace, which has great power in the Great Xia Immortal dynasty. The other 3 chambers of commerce are actually similar. The founder of the Yunlai Chamber of Commerce was a woman who once had a deep connection with a powerful figure in the Holy Land of Absolute Beginning. The Sihai Chamber of Commerce is backed by the Chengkan Chamber of Commerce, and its founders of all generations have practiced in the Chengkan Sacred Land. Even in the eyes of many people in the know, the Sihai Chamber of Commerce is one of the external faces of Chengkan Sacred Land. The situation of Penglai Chamber of Commerce is a bit special. They do not have the backing of Sacred Land, but their president, Akiyama Hong, is the illegitimate son of an independent cultivator and a legitimate daughter of the Mountain and Sea ancient clan. He has half mountain and sea blood in his body. Those so-called ancient clans, in the distant history, once produced powerful figures who dominated an era. They have always had a high opinion of themselves and looked down on ordinary monks from the outside world. But it is said that in recent years, the Penglai Chamber of Commerce and the Mountain and Sea ancient clan have had quite close interactions. In short, no chamber of commerce is simple. The Northern Territory is so large, but from a business perspective, it is basically divided up among the 4 major chambers of commerce. Beihai is the home base of Langya Chamber of Commerce. Here, they can do anything easily. But once you leave, the situation is completely different. For example, in the small area of Beihai, if Wang Xiu released a message on Tianhuang Island in the morning, it would spread throughout the entire Beihai by the next morning at the latest. But on land, this effect will be greatly reduced. It could be 3 days, it could be 5 days. It may not even be transmitted at all. This is just one of them, there are many factors that can be affected. So, when Ni Tingting heard that Wang Xiu was planning to launch an offensive outside the North Sea, she was shocked. Isn't this too sudden? We are not prepared at all. Wang Xiu glanced at her and asked, who said we weren't prepared? Ni Tingting, A few days later, without any warning, Wang Xiu suddenly arrived at the Langya headquarters. The deacons were very surprised to see him. They were stunned for a moment, then they suddenly reacted and hurriedly stood up to pay their respects. No need to be polite, I'm here to see Grandma. From a distance, Wang Xiu waved his hand. The president is making tea in the yard. A young female deacon hurriedly offered to lead the way, but Wang Xiu waved her hand to refuse. Is that the young master? Looking at Wang Xiu's departing figure. A series of discussions soon broke out among the crowd. Some of the newcomers had never seen Wang Xiu before and their faces were filled with curiosity. Yes, that's it. The female deacon who was about to lead the way nodded with a complicated look in her eyes. Wow, the young master is so handsome, just like Celestial Immortal. This description doesn't seem right, does it? From beginning to end, it took the young master less than 2 months to completely drive the 3 major chambers of commerce out of Beihai. To be honest, I still can't believe it. In the past, people always said that the young master was a good-for-nothing playboy, but luckily I never believed it. A beautiful woman with big wavy hair had a smile on her face, and her mind was full of imagination. Thinking about the scene of Wang Xiu nodding at them just now, she even thought of what to name her future child. You farted. You were the one who cursed the loudest in private at that time. Shut up, I didn't. Ignoring the whispers of the people below. Wang Xiu went straight to Nalan Rongyan's yard. As soon as you step in, you can smell a strong aroma of tea. Ren Pingsheng and 3 other leaders sat opposite Nalan Rongyan a little stiffly, holding a cup of tea in both hands, and it was unknown what they were talking about. Young master. The young master is here. When they saw Wang Xiu, several leaders stood up and saluted at the same time. Nalan Rongyan was also surprised. She walked over quickly and grabbed Wang Xiu. Why are you here? You didn't tell me in advance. Hey, tell someone to prepare a banquet. She looked Wang Xiu up and down, with a look of pity in her eyes. You've lost weight. Haven't you been eating well recently? Wait, there's a new nest of flood dragons coming to the southwest. Grandma asked someone to kill them and make soup for you to nourish yourself. Wang Xiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I'm not thin, I'm fine. Nalan Rongyan pulled Wang Xiu to sit down and asked him questions from beginning to end, but there was not much to say. It was just about the weather being cold recently and whether he had put on more clothes. This Langya president has been active in the Northern Territory business world for nearly 1,000 years and has intimidated countless people. At this moment, he seemed just an ordinary old man who cared about his grandson. Wang Xiu did not show any impatience and responded to every word. Wait until Nalan Rongyan has finished asking questions. Wang Mukai said, Grandma, I came here this time to discuss some plans for the Langya Chamber of Commerce with you. Nalan Rongyan asked curiously, Oh. Tell me about it. Wang Xiu said, I want to select some people from the Chamber of Commerce, separate them, and set up 2 subsidiaries, which will be responsible for the sales of communication symbols and the future online shopping platform. Company. Well, it is also a kind of Chamber of Commerce. It's just that it is no longer responsible for such miscellaneous affairs, and concentrates on the communication symbols. From production to sales, to after sales, it forms a complete service chain. Wang Xiu tried to explain to Nalan Rongyan in simple and straightforward language. Hearing this, Nalan Rongyan has not yet expressed his opinion. Ren Pingsheng and others beside him couldn't sit still. This. Young master, president, this can't be done. The Chamber of Commerce was originally a whole. Once it is dismantled, it may be beneficial in the short term, but in the long run, it will cause endless troubles. It is very likely to cause the Langya Chamber of Commerce to fall apart. They looked solemn and did not care about the difference in status and interrupted each other forcefully. Wang Xiu was not annoyed, and explained calmly, it's not what you think. Disassembly is just for better division of labor and cooperation, allowing professionals to do professional things and improve efficiency. Just like now, the 10 executives of yours are each responsible for all the business in a region. Do you ever think of going out on your own and becoming your own king? As soon as these words came out, several people's faces suddenly changed, and they waved their hands repeatedly. Of course it's impossible. We are loyal to the Chamber of Commerce and the President. We are sincere and sincere. The sun and the moon can testify to this. Wang Xiu smiled and waved his hand, saying, Don't panic, I'm just giving you an example. Ren Pingsheng wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said, This is a bad example. It's better not to cite it, young master. Wang Xiu added, The current form of the Chamber of Commerce is fine for maintaining the status quo, but if we want to expand the scale and develop faster, it will become a limitation. Because, as our business grows bigger in the future, it will be impossible to select a person in charge for every market. If this continues, won't our Langya Chamber of Commerce have dozens or even hundreds of directors? After hearing this, the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. He thought that the North Sea was vast, and each of the 10 leaders was responsible for a very large area, and most of the areas that should be divided had been divided. There are only so many places. Where do so many people come from to be appointed? It was not until Nalan Rongyan spoke that their expressions suddenly changed and they understood what Wang Xiu meant. You want to expand your business to land. Nalan Rongyan looked at her grandson quietly, her silver hair fluttering slightly and a faint smile on her face. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 92, Major Reform of the Chamber of Commerce, Langya Mall is in place. Nalan Rongyan has ignored worldly affairs for many years. Although the position of president is still there, all the daily affairs, big and small, are basically handed over to the 10 leaders. Just give her a report at the end. But her mind was still sharp enough to figure out Wang Xiu's thoughts from his few words. Wang Xiu did not hide it and nodded, yes. The several important people looked at each other with serious expressions, and came to their senses at this moment. No wonder the young master said that, the business is getting bigger and bigger, and the boss is not enough. Love, is it about extending your hand into someone else's territory? There are dozens or even hundreds of people in charge. How much business will this take away from others? Ren Pingsheng pursed his lips, thinking that although the young master's words were exaggerated, it was still not difficult to see his ambition. Wang Xiu's idea is actually very simple. The current organizational structure within the Langya Chamber of Commerce may be the most suitable for the current situation. But it is definitely not the most suitable for future development. More than enough to maintain the status quo. But it couldn't go any further. Because all the industries under the Langya Chamber of Commerce include law treasure trading, elixirs, spirit beasts, formations, auction houses, etc. There are all kinds of businesses, it's like a hodgepodge. But there is nothing special to remember. It wasn't until the communication talisman Wang Xiu tinkered with came out that it began to have some of this flavor. For example, when a cultivator mentions the Langya Chamber of Commerce, he will naturally think of the Langya communication symbol. It's really awesome and so useful. To put it bluntly, just 2 words, brand. Langya Chamber of Commerce does not have its own brand. When people buy things, they choose Langya Chamber of Commerce simply because it is a large and powerful place with guaranteed credibility, and they can buy higher grade and rarer materials. But in fact, the 4 major chambers of commerce are the same in this regard. If you really want to talk about it, there is absolutely no difference between them. It just depends on who is luckier. For example, these 2 days I accidentally obtained a powerful immortal weapon, so I held an auction to heat up the market for a while. In a few days you will get a special spirit medicine or elixir, which will cause a scramble for it. But the popularity is only temporary. Eventually peace will return. We will still go back to the situation where you and I are the same, like a round stone, without any advantages or so-called brand competitiveness. This is not a problem for the Chamber of Commerce, this is a problem for the world. In the world of cultivation, business certainly exists, but it is difficult to develop into the situation of thousands of schools of thought contending with each other like in previous lives. After all, compared to doing business, those behind the scenes place more emphasis on cultivation. If you don't pay attention, there will naturally be less passion and creativity. But the stone is too round, which is not a good thing for those who want to expand the market. Wang Xiu needed the stone of Langya Chamber of Commerce to be angular and sharp enough to pierce into the heart of the other 3 chambers of commerce. Only in this way can we achieve success without occupying the geographical advantage. With unstoppable force, they devoured the opponent's market. A strong brand has such edges, or it can be said to be a suitable weapon. Of course, there have been organizations in this world with powerful brands. But in the end, they often develop into aristocratic families or sects. For example, there used to be a Wufengjai in Beihai, which was famous for its sword-making skills. Sword-practicing monks from all over the world flocked to it, hoping to get a piece of its precious sword. Later, Wufengjai was annexed by Biming Sacred Land and became a part of Weapon Refining Pavilion. This is an important reason why business in this world cannot develop to its peak. Now, Wang Xiu wanted to pick it up through his own means. And thus establish your own, real, commercial immortal dynasty. Their Langya brand communication talisman is the first of its kind. If you want to build a brand, you have to start from the root. The current organizational structure of the Langya Chamber of Commerce is obviously inappropriate. Wang Xiu needs a pure company, or department, that is solely responsible for the communications business. Only by specializing can you achieve excellence. It's the same in any industry. There is no such thing as antitrust law in this world. Therefore, what Wang Xiu wanted was that from now on in the entire Ashen Essence world, when mentioning the communication symbol, everyone would only know Langya. Grandma, please believe me. No problem. Wang Xiu was planning to say something to make Nalan Rongyan more convinced. After all, the communication business and online shopping business are only part of Wang Xiu's business plan. In the future, more businesses will be separated. From specialization to excellence, Langya Chamber of Commerce was founded by Nalan Rongyan. Such a major shake-up of the internal organizational structure could lead to a total collapse if one is not careful. Putting yourself in their shoes, no one would easily agree to such a risky proposal. But what Wang Xiu didn't expect was, it didn't take any time at all. Nalan Rongyan agreed immediately. Grandma, you agreed. Of course. Nalan Rongyan smiled. Her smile was bright and radiant, and her eyes looking at Wang Xiu were full of tenderness and doting. My eldest grandson is ambitious and wants to do something. As a grandmother, I must support him unconditionally. She reached out her hand and gently stroked Wang Xiu's head. Child, just go for it. No matter what the outcome is, Grandma will support you. Wang Xiu stammered for a long time before uttering a single sentence. Thank you, Grandma. On the edge, several leaders originally wanted to persuade him. But Ren Pingsheng directly sent a message to stop them. Joke. The president's attitude is firm enough. Even if Wang Xiu really destroyed the Chamber of Commerce, she could accept it calmly. The affection between the grandparents and grandchildren is strong at this moment. If they don't speak up, their lives might be in danger. What's more, can the young master really destroy the Chamber of Commerce? If it were in the past, Ren Pingsheng might really be a little worried. But after what happened in the past 2 months, he had already changed his mind. Although a bit bold and crazy. But, young master, it seems that you never fight a battle without confidence. Got the consent of Nalan Rongyan. Wang Xiu wasted no time and handed the reform plan he had prepared long ago to Ren Pingsheng and others. You all know the situation in the Chamber of Commerce better than I do. I'll have to leave the selection of this person to you. Young master, what are you talking about? We will do our best to serve you. Yeah, Wang Xiu nodded and added, try to choose someone who is younger and passionate but also smart and clever. Yes. Evening. A grand banquet was held at the Langya Chamber of Commerce headquarters. It was like a whole dragon feast. There were 10 real dragons in total, and their flesh and blood were very nutritious. Everyone's faces were glowing after eating so much, and there was still a large half left in the end. Wang Xiu simply waved his hand and distributed the meat to the Langya Chamber of Commerce deacons at the lowest level. Nalan Rongyan's eyes lit up at the sight. My dear grandson is so kind-hearted. I heard the president sigh. Ren Pingsheng and the others beside him couldn't help but twitch their lips, as if they heard the long-dead flood dragons roaring again. Are you kind? Are you noble? Are you using my whole family as a favor? The banquet is over. Wang Xiu just returned to Tianhuang Island. Then I heard good news. Young master. Ni Tingting's face flushed as she said excitedly, Miss Sha Yaoyao sent a message saying that the Langya Mall has been almost completed. Chapter 93 Langya Forum. Oh. Wang Xiu was a little surprised and held out his hand and said, do you have any samples? Let me see. Some. Ni Tingting handed over a communication token that Sha Yaoyao had just sent over. Wang Xiu took it and found that there was a new icon on the interface where there was originally only one, communication, application. Question mark. He clicked on it and looked at it carefully. Today's Langya Mall is still just a framework, but the basic functional areas have been built. Product interface, category interface, logistics query, user personal information, etc. However, there are still many flaws. For example, the control bar is arranged in a messy way, the interface layout is not simple enough, and there is a lack of clear guidance for novices, etc. Wang Xiu directly contacted Sha Yaoyao using the communication symbol and explained to her the several areas that needed rectification one by one. After hearing this, Sha Yaoyao felt overwhelmed. Are there so many problems? She stared with wide eyes, finding it hard to accept. I feel like they are all insignificant things. Wang Xiu shook his head and said, details determine success or failure. Your design is too complicated, and it's too showy. In addition to being fully functional, the most important thing about a software is simplicity. People should be able to understand what it is used for at a glance and get started as quickly as possible. People in this world have never experienced similar software features. I want them to be able to understand how to use it right away. Some basic details must be taken into consideration. Sha Yaoyao. Okay, you pay, and you have the final say. The girl pouted, obviously not fully understanding and accepting what Wang Xiu said. This is normal. It's not that she is not smart enough, but there is a gap in thinking and perspective. Wang Xiu had the concept of a finished product in his mind. But Sha Yaoyao, like everyone else in this world, had never seen what Wang Xiu wanted. Wang Xiu heard her little emotion and smiled slightly. Senior sister Yaoyao, you are the most talented and beautiful artifact refining master I have ever seen, and you are smart enough. To be honest, I was surprised that the first version turned out like this. As expected, he is the number 1 prodigy of weapon refining pavilion. Hearing this, Sha Yaoyao's eyes lit up, she put on a stern face, suppressed the corners of her mouth that were about to rise, and said coldly, don't think you can fool me by saying something nice. I am absolutely serious and responsible about artifact refining. I will make the revisions seriously even if you don't say so. Of course. Wang Xiu smiled and said, in fact, your basic framework has been built very well. The subsequent improvement work can be handed over to others. In a few days, the Langya Chamber of Commerce will set up a separate technical department, which will be staffed by some very experienced artifact refining masters and array masters. Wang Xiu looked at Sha Yaoyao's face in the picture and said with a smile, "When the time comes, you can just come over and be the director, and throw the remaining tasks to them, so that they can practice their skills." This was something the two of them had discussed and decided a few days ago. The Weapon Refining Pavilion will provide personnel and cooperate with the Langya Chamber of Commerce to guide those artifact refining divisions. Sha Yaoyao volunteered to be the first one. Hearing Wang Xiu's words, she was a little confused. If I leave it to them, it might take a lot longer to perfect it. Wang Xiu nodded. It's okay, just take your time. If Langya Mall wants to go online, it still needs a lot of preparation work, so we can't rush it. In comparison, there is another matter that is more urgent. It requires the beautiful, wise and skilled senior sister Yaoyao to do it herself. What? Langya Forum? Wang Xiu said word by word with a faint smile on his face. Quote. It's a new gadget, also a piece of software. Compared to the Langya Mall, it will be much simpler. With your experience, you will be able to complete it within a few days. Wang Xiu explained. I will send you the key points and precautions of the software via the communication symbol in a while, please read it first. Good. Young master, why can't we just launch Langya Mall? Seeing Wang Xiu hung up the phone, Ni Tingting couldn't help but ask about her inner confusion. In her opinion, something like Langya Mall is really novel and amazing. Once it appears, it may change the times. It can bring huge benefits to Langya Chamber of Commerce. But Wang Xiu doesn't seem to be in a hurry to launch it. It's not time yet. Wang Xiu didn't explain much, he just said this. An online shopping mall does not only require one software. Offline physical warehouse, logistics system and channels for nearby distribution. A mature and stable courier team. Even after-sales service and so on. They are all inseparable parts and seriously affect the life of the online mall. The Langya Chamber of Commerce is currently working on these things, but it takes time and cannot be rushed. The most important thing is, this thing is admittedly new, but like the communication symbol, it's not difficult. With the strength of the three major chambers of commerce, if they saw Wang Xiu launching something like an online mall, they would be able to easily copy it. The situation that followed was predictable. It's nothing more than a money-burning war. Offer discounts and engage in price wars. This most unnew trick has been moved from offline to online and has been successful everywhere. The three major chambers of commerce have joined forces, and their financial reserves far exceed those of the Langya Chamber of Commerce. If the fight continues like this, in the end, the Langya Chamber of Commerce will most likely lose badly. Wang Xiu didn't want to fight such an uncertain battle. If we don't act, then it's fine. But once we act, we must do it like a prairie fire, making it impossible for the three major chambers of commerce to fight back or catch up. All of this requires more adequate preparation. The forum is the most important one. The order for the reform of the Chamber of Commerce has been issued. This is also something that cannot be rushed. It involves the transformation and adjustment of thousands of branches in the Beihai area. But at Wang Xiu's special request, the establishment of the technical department became extremely quick and smooth. The Langya Chamber of Commerce gathered all its artifact refining masters and array masters, and Sha Yaoyao from Baiming Sacred Land personally led them to learn how to use arrays, runes, and weapon refining art. To realize Wang Xiu's various expectations. Come on, let's see if this is the effect you want. Tianhuang Island. In the courtyard, Sha Yaoyao was wearing a lot of jingling law treasure jewelry. She stood there with her hands on her hips, her hair a little messy, and stared at Wang Xiu intently. How did it come to this? Wang Xiu smiled and took the communication token handed over by the other party. Isn't it just for that forum you mentioned? Sha Yaoyao said unhappily. He is the undisputed leader of the younger generation of Weapon Refining Pavilion. She is proud of being a prodigy. However, the last time I made the Langya Mall, I felt that everything was fine and it would definitely dazzle Wang Xiu's eyes. Then I heard him say with admiration on his face, "Senior sister Yaoyao is really amazing." What's the result? Wang Xiu pointed at the software and pointed out more than a dozen defects from beginning to end. Although Wang Xiu promptly eased her inner frustration with some sweet words, she decided to work hard after she recovered. We must make Wang Xiu satisfied this time. Chapter 94, For the sake of the people of the world. Earth Immortals, please help. Yes, very good. Wang Xiu's eyes were full of admiration, and he looked at Sha Yaoyao with appreciation in his eyes. The functions of a forum are much simpler than those of an online mall. Sha Yaoyao perfectly absorbed the modification suggestions that Wang Xiu gave her last time, and designed the interface of the entire forum to be both beautiful and neat. Even if it was Wang Xiu, the first time you see it, you will feel amazed. This is one of the great benefits of being a research fanatic. There is no need for Wang Xiu to urge him at all. Although the functions are not comprehensive enough, as the initial version, there are no problems. It can be updated with patches in the future. I wouldn't trade senior sister Yaoyao for help like her even for 10 saintesses. Wang Xiu looked at Sha Yaoyao with admiration. Go to hell. Sha Yaoyao spat, her face slightly flushed as she wondered what she was thinking about. Alright, notify the Chamber of Commerce and get ready. The forum may be officially launched in the next 2 days. Wang Xiu waved his hand and said, Ting Ting, take senior sister Yaoyao to settle down, take a bath and relax, and stay here for the next 2 days. Where are you going? Sha Yaoyao asked puzzledly as she looked at Wang Xiu who was about to walk out. Go to sacred land. Be rich and noble. A call. The golden-winged great pung eagle stood tall in the wind, looking energetic. It spread its wings and lowered its head to welcome Wang Xiu onto its head. Then it broke through the air and flew away. Night had fallen, and snow began to fall from the sky over the North Sea, fluttering in the air. The sacred land of Beiming is protected by a large formation. It is not affected by the alternation of cold and hot seasons, but standing in the formation and looking at the different scenery of the vast world outside is also a different feeling. Wang Xiu rode the golden-winged great pung eagle, passed through the formation, and came to the Holy Lord's Hall. The interior was brightly lit and filled with shadows of people. Luo Xuanxuang was discussing important matters with a group of elders, and when it seemed like they were about to finish the discussion, everyone felt like leaving at any time. Daughter. More. Everyone looked at Wang Xiu, and the elders looked curious and sized him up for a long time. These days, the commotion Wang Xiu caused in Beihai was quite big. Even those powerful people who lived in seclusion in the sacred land all day long to practice and didn't care much about worldly affairs had heard vague news about Wang Xiu from various channels. It is in stark contrast to his previous dandy image. Seeing Wang Xiu in person now, and observing his words and actions, he is indeed very different from before. Then Holy Lord, we will take our leave first and will not disturb you anymore. An elder smiled, bowed, and prepared to leave. Luo Xuanxuang was about to nod. But suddenly a voice was heard. Elders, please stay for a while. Wang Xiu spoke up in time to persuade them to stay. Everyone stopped and turned to look in confusion. Luo Xuanxuang also cast a puzzled look. Mom, actually I came here today because I have something that I would like to ask you and the elders for help. Help. Hearing this, the elders looked at each other with slightly strange expressions. They had no dealings with Wang Xiu, so why did the other party suddenly ask them for help? What was going on? Wang Xiu did not delay and continued, Langya Chamber of Commerce has recently set up a Langya Foundation and Ascension Conference. I wonder if you have heard of it. I've heard of it. It is said that this foundation's purpose is to help the needy, and it has saved many people whose lives were hanging by a thread. The Immortal Ascension Conference is even more of a good deed, allowing many people who originally had no chance of immortal Tao to have a glimpse of the possibility of immortality. I heard that the person behind these two things was Master Mu, so he really did a great deed. An old man with a kind face stroked his beard and said with a smile. The person who spoke was Elder Tianhuang, who is also the leader of Pill Refining Pavilion. Alchemy Dao has achieved extraordinary accomplishments and possesses supreme medical skills. It is said that many powerful people in the Northern Territories cultivation world owe him a debt of gratitude. In Beiming's sacred land, there are 6 pavilions, Danfu, Qizhan, Shuwu. Each pavilion is presided over by a highly respected great cultivator. Not only are all of them above the earth immortal level, but each has his or her own strengths. Among them, Elder Tianhuang has the best personality. He is not aggressive and never offends anyone. Wang Xiu bowed to him and said, Elder Tianhuang, thank you for your praise. Luo Xuanxuang said, more, if you have anything to say, just tell me. Wang Xiu nodded and continued, the Immortal Ascension Conference has given many poor families the hope of entering the immortal Tao. However, because of this, many people who were originally qualified to receive further cultivation methods were unable to enter the immortal gate because there were too many people with spirit roots. As a result, they can only become independent cultivators, and many of them practice recklessly, becoming possessed and seriously injured and dying. I can't bear to see them end up in such a desolate state, so I came here specially to ask for your advice." As soon as these words came out, many elders vaguely understood Wang Emu's intention and frowned slightly. The owner of Tian Martial Pavilion said bluntly, "Langya Chamber of Commerce has abundant treasury, and the Prince of Wei's mansion has the entire Great Xia Immortal Dynasty's mysterious magic. If Master Mu wants to help them, why do you need to look for us?" Wang Mu shook his head and sighed, "I have thought about it before. However, although I cannot practice, I also know the rules. The law should not be passed on lightly. Teaching some basic introductory techniques is already the limit. If we spread all the advanced techniques, I am afraid it will bring about a catastrophic disaster." This is a question that Wang Mu has seriously considered. At the beginning, it's not like he hadn't thought about taking those high-level immortal laws in the sacred land that could be practiced to the level of transcending tribulation in one go, and distributing them so that everyone could practice them. In this way, you may be able to gain huge benefits in a short period of time. But after calming down, he immediately gave up the idea. The immortal cultivation world has its own rules and tacit understandings. The high-level practice of immortal law is almost always monopolized by major forces such as sacred land and ancient clan, and it is impossible for it to be spread outside. It is extremely difficult for outsiders to practice cultivation. This is also the main reason why those blessed places, Grotto Heaven, sacred land, ancient clan, are so high and mighty. If immortal law becomes widespread, it will undoubtedly affect the interests of those top forces. Although the Wang family is powerful, they have already been targeted by a number of sons of fortune. If they were to risk the world's disapproval again, they would probably be destroyed in a matter of days. If you don't seek the Dharma, then what is Master Mu seeking? My elders, you are all great and powerful people of this time, highly respected and virtuous, the great Tao of the Grotto Heaven, who understand the mysteries of the universe. Why do you need profound and wonderful methods to save the world? Just a few words, some insights and experiences from youth, are enough to benefit those low-level monks for life." Wang Mu bowed and said sincerely. After hearing this, everyone suddenly realized that Wang Mu had been talking around the subject for a long time and finally got to the point. Insights, thoughts. So this is what he wanted. In a sense, experience is more valuable than the Dharma. After all, even if you are given a method, you may not be able to master it due to limitations such as talent, understanding, luck, etc. But the experience is different. As long as this thing is used in the right place, it can help young monks save countless detours. Generally speaking, even between a master and his disciples, the one who can receive the teachings is often the true disciple. For most disciples, a method is usually given to them to practice and understand on their own. When you really encounter a problem that cannot be solved, only teachers can help. This means that the master leads you to the door, but the practice is up to you. But at the same time, it's not something that's particularly taboo. Sometimes, when they are outside and in a good mood, if they meet a younger person they like, they will give some advice. It is not as strict as the transmission of Dharma. Therefore, when they heard that Wang Mu wanted some insights, they felt relieved. After all, the Holy Lord is here, and Wang Mu has a good attitude. As long as he speaks up and it's not too excessive, they will definitely help if they can. Chapter 95 Li Yuanhua. This old slave has a friend. Mr. Mu is so young, but he has such a compassionate heart for the world, which is inherited from his family. Elder Tianhuang said with a smile, I am not talented, but I am a little older and have some experience. If Master Mu doesn't mind, I can help you. Hear this. The other elders couldn't help but twitch their lips. This old man always talks in different ways. When has the Wang family ever had any compassion? Not to mention Wang Emu's father, who was known as the Butcher and had killed countless people. Just the North Sea Saint Lord Luo Xuanxuang, who had wielded the Cold Whale Immortal Sword, had killed countless villains. Or in other words, among practitioners who have reached a high level, all of them are decisive in killing. Although the young master of the Wang family does not look that disrespectful and rude, he is still too well protected by the Wang family and is too naive. If you lose the protection of the royal family. I just realized how useless kindness is in this world. Certainly. As for what Wang Mu did and thought, they could only lament his naivety, but they had no feelings of disgust. For the sake of the Holy Lord, it would be no harm to help. What Elder Tianhuang said is true. I have practiced for half my life and I also have some humble opinions. I will ask my disciples to sort them out and send them to Master Mu after I return. Young master, you have a kind heart. I admire you. I will send the things to your house someday. Quote, comma, comma, quote. With someone taking the lead, the elders quickly reached a consensus. Wang Xiu exhaled lightly, bowed his hands and smiled. Thank you, elders. I would like to express my gratitude on behalf of the lower-level cultivators. Suddenly, he remembered something and added, by the way, when you write your thoughts, try to focus on the perspective of low-level cultivators. After all, you all know that the cultivation bases of those low-level cultivators are generally not high. If it's too profound, I'm afraid they won't understand it. Haha, young Master Mu is indeed a thoughtful person. I understand, Elder Tianhuang said with a smile. In that case, please. Mr. Mu, you are too polite. After some brief courtesies, the elders left at the same time, promising to send back their insights soon. Only mother and son were left in the hall. Luo Xuanxuang looked at Wang Xiu. Just to get some experience, why did you have to come here in the night in the snow? Use the communication symbol to tell mother, and I will ask for it for you. She looked at him with kindness, and with some concern, she brushed off some of the snow water on Wang Emu's body. Mom, have you forgotten that I can practice now? A mere snowstorm can't hurt me. Luo Xuanxuang was slightly at a loss. Yes, Wang Xiu has been immortal for more than 10 years. She had long been accustomed to her son's frail body. I almost forgot that he is no longer immortal, and his root bone is amazing, with the posture of the great emperor. Besides, wouldn't it appear more sincere if I came in person for this kind of thing? What does it matter if they are sincere or not? If they don't give it to you, why don't you just ask mother for it? Do you think my experience in cultivation is not as good as theirs? The female sword immortal rolled her eyes and asked back with arrogance. Of course not. Wang Emu's desire to survive was full. I haven't had time to say it yet. If mom can give me some guidance and experience in sword Dao, it would be great. A few words. Is that enough? That's enough. One word from my mother is worth 1,000 words from others. Silly. Quote, comma, comma, quote. Comma, comma. Wang Xiu stayed in sacred land for 2 days. Period. He used the communication symbol to instruct Li Yuanwu to contact those soul formation monks who also had good cultivation, and try to get as many insights and experiences as possible. The elders kept their word and sent disciples one after another to pass on their experiences. Wang Xiu looked carefully and found that the quality of the gifts given by each elder was almost the same. It's just that the quantity varies. The secret manuals and techniques of this era mostly use obscure language, and perhaps the entire technique only has a few thousand words in total. But each word contains a huge amount of information. Without a certain foundation in Taoism, it is impossible to understand it at all. Elder Tianwu looked quite cold on the surface and didn't talk much, but he wrote more than 2,000 words in a very fluent and concise manner. It could be said that he was very detailed and put a lot of thought into his writing. Even some beginners in cultivating immortals can understand the general meaning after reading it. If you savor it over and over again, you will reap the rewards. The second was Elder Tianhuang, Sha Yaoyao's master, who also wrote nearly 2,000 words, half of which was about cultivation and the other half about artifact refining, which was also quite detailed. Elder Tianhuang came in second, writing just over 1,000 words. The shortest one, the master of the 10,000 Beasts Pavilion, wrote only over 400 words, each word was a gem and the language was abstruse. Although it is also a superior experience of spiritual practice. But he was obviously still putting on airs, thinking that those lower-level monks, if they were lucky enough to get his insights, they should practice hard behind closed doors and delve into the mysteries. Wang Xiu was calm and not dissatisfied about this. Instead, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's good to have a difference. Only when there is a difference, there is room for maneuver. Comma, comma. Young master, you are back. 2 days later. Wang Xiu returned to Tianzhu Island. Li Yuanwu went to greet him respectfully and handed him a jade slip. This is what you wanted, please take a look. Wang Xiu took it and scanned it with his spiritual sense, and all the contents appeared in his mind. Good. He nodded with satisfaction. These soul formation monks were easy to talk to. In the jade slip, there are all kinds of experiences. In terms of escape techniques, how to maintain high speed and last longer. In terms of magic, how to launch a powerful attack without draining out your own magic power in a short period of time. In terms of dual cultivation, how to fully perform the 36 moves of the 100 birds facing the seam. Why is there more? Wang Xiu looked at Li Yuanwu who handed him another jade slip, puzzled. Li Yuanwu smiled respectfully and said, "This belongs to me, old slave." Wang Emu's expression changed slightly, and he smiled as he immersed the spiritual sense into the jade slip. He was immediately shocked. Good job. Did this old fellow record all his life's experience in cultivation on it? Qi refining foundation building monks alone are prone to encounter situations where they go astray, and he listed 23 types. There are as many as 88 solutions to deal with these different situations. Each one is extremely detailed, down to the speed at which the exercises are performed, the time that the magic power stays in each acupoint, and accurate to the breath. Seeing Wang Emu's surprised and delighted look, Li Yuanhua said quickly, "My cultivation is low, not as good as the senior immortals in Sacred Land. I just want to share the worries of the young master as much as possible." Very good. Wang Yu looked at Li Yuanhua and said, "But I have a question." Li Yuanhua hurriedly said, "You go ahead." Wang Yu hissed and said, "This, a handsome male cultivator who meets a female cultivator from the demon sect, how do you know the trick to prevent her from taking the yang and replenishing the yin and draining her of her essence?" Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Li Yuanhua's old face was daunted. This has to start with a friend of mine. Chapter 96 This forum. It's going against the will of heaven. The next day, early morning, all Langya communication symbols received a message push at the same time. Langya Forum is the spiritual home of every immortal cultivator. Langya Forum. What is that? I don't know, let's see. You received it too. What is this? Who sent it? Quote. The content of the message is simple. Just a few simple words. The overall form is like a letter written to everyone. We are committed to creating a spiritual world and online home for all practitioners, where everyone can speak freely. All the secrets in this world will open the door to you. Everything you want to know is here. Quote. The letter was signed by Langya Forum Project Team. That sounds good. You have everything you want to know. You are so arrogant. Isn't it normal for him to be so arrogant since he is from the Langya Chamber of Commerce? All secrets are unlocked. You're making me excited. The pyramid system in the spiritual world is too solid. The information and intelligence that different classes can grasp are completely on different dimensions. This is also the reason why cultivating immortals is difficult. And now, this Langya Forum actually dares to say, everything you want to know can be found here. Is it true or false? As soon as the message was sent, it caused an uproar. All the Langya communication talisman holders began to hold the communication talisman in anticipation. Some people think that this Langya Forum is more of a boasting thing. But those old customers who support Langya Chamber of Commerce don't think so. They believe in the reputation of Langya Chamber of Commerce. Believe in the character of the greatest good man in the Northern Territory. Since he dares to say it, he can definitely do it. At the same time, Penglai Chamber of Commerce. Penglai Chamber of Commerce. Tang Qian walked out of the training room sweating profusely, used his magic power to burn off the sweat, and changed into clean clothes. Beside, a servant immediately brought a cup of freshly brewed spiritual tea. Has there been any news from the North Sea recently? Tang Qian rinsed his mouth with spiritual tea, spit it out, and asked. Some. The servant bowed his head and said, our informant discovered that the Langya Chamber of Commerce recently launched something called the Langya Forum, which seems to be causing quite a stir. Forum. What is it for? I'm not sure yet, but according to them, whatever you want to know is in there. Quote. Quote. Tang Qian raised his eyebrows. What a big promise. What kind of forum is this? How many spirit stones are they selling for? It doesn't look like it's for sale. Not selling. Giving it away for free. Yes. Quote. Tang Qian couldn't help but remain silent for a while. He found that Wang Emu's thoughts were indeed too difficult to guess. Keep watching, and report any unusual movements at any time. Yes. Finally. It was in this atmosphere of great anticipation. One night, all Langya communication talisman users received a system push at the same time. Your communication symbol will be updated soon on the Langya Forum and will be restarted at that time. This process will not take too long, please be patient. FK. Everyone, I received the news that the Langya Forum is coming out. I got it too. Oh my, it's finally coming out. I've been waiting for so long. A restaurant somewhere. Everyone opened the communication symbol impatiently, watching its light suddenly dim and then light up quickly. The words updating slowly floated out on the dark and smooth surface of the crystal, and there was a circular progress bar spinning below it. Hiss, so slow. How long will it take? Almost full. Okay, that's it. Finally, the update was completed and the communication symbol restarted. The Langya forum icon suddenly appeared on the homepage interface, which originally only had a communication icon. People clicked in without hesitation. A simple interface suddenly appeared in front of me. There is only one sentence written on it: Langya forum is every practitioner's spiritual home. Immediately following, the screen switched, and a neatly divided, clean and refreshing forum homepage interface appeared. At the top of the homepage, there is a clear category list. Cultivation, encyclopedia, anecdotes, and nature's work. 5 major categories, clear and concise. And on the home page, the few messages pinned to the top instantly stunned them all. Oh my god, guess what I saw? What is that? It's so mysterious. Holy shit. Fellow Taoist Zhang, what's wrong with you? Quick, look. What are you looking at? Holy shit. What are you guys complaining about? I'm complaining, what the hell? Quote. Looking at the words and information before them, all the monks were in an intense shock that was difficult to conceal, and some even lost their voices. Northern Sword Immortal. A brief analysis of Sword Foundation. 3 key suggestions from Tianhuang Pavilion Master for artifact refining novices. It's not terrible to be obsessed with the foundation building stage. There are at least 88 solutions. Pill refining, have you really gotten started, Tiandan? There was silence for a long time. It was not until a long while later that the sound of someone swallowing saliva was heard. Langya Chamber of Commerce, this is going crazy. Is this all real? I'm not dreaming, am I? Biming Sword Immortal, is it really Biming Sword Immortal? He is an almighty master in the realm of Earth Immortal. Even if such a person gives us a few words of advice, it would be enough for us to benefit for the rest of our lives. But now, there is a detailed explanation of Sword Dao with more than 2,000 words. Quote. Shit, I'm so G successful. I can actually get guidance from Sword Immortal. Wow, I'm so G awesome. Wonderful. It's wonderful, it's simply indescribable. And the pill refining experience, this is actually the experience written by Senior Tiandan from Biming Sacred Land. So that's how it is. I understand now. Ha 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 ha. Quote. Boom. Suddenly, the spirit chi between heaven and earth suddenly became violent. Everyone looked back. Someone unexpectedly saw an article about using the body as a furnace to refine 5 organs and purify cultivation, and tried it on the spot. He actually broke through directly and his strength increased greatly. It also highlights the authenticity and value of these experiences. Everyone went crazy, their bodies burning hot, and it felt like there was a ferocious beast inside them that wanted to roar out. Everything before my eyes was too unreal. Almost all of the people present were ordinary cultivators at the bottom of the cultivation world. They have no background, no connections. Most of them are just independent cultivators. When it comes to spiritual practice, they can only study on their own and cross the river by feeling the stones. He touched it correctly and took 2 staggering steps forward. If you touch the wrong one, the myriad tribulations will disappear at any time. Have they ever thought that one day, they would be able to receive guidance from immortal level masters? I wouldn't even dare to do this in my dreams. Even if these things were broken into 100 pieces and thrown into an auction house, they would still be rare treasures that monks like them could never afford in their lifetime. This moment, some of them couldn't help but ask themselves, are they really worthy? Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 97, I have gone astray, Taoist Master, please save me. Under the night, in the quiet room, a middle-aged monk was sitting cross-legged, practicing, the faint glow of magical power flowing around his body. Suddenly, his breathing became rapid, his originally peaceful face became hideous and painful, and his aura fluctuated violently. Not good. He suddenly opened his eyes, which were bloodshot. A stream of blood gushed out of his mouth. Then his face turned pale and his breath weakened at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if he had aged dozens of years in an instant. His name is Han Yi. He is the leader of a sect called Zhengyuan sect, and has reached the pinnacle of foundation building. On this island, there were 2 other sects that were as powerful as their Zhengyuan sect. They formed a 3-way confrontation and fought against each other, with all kinds of open and covert attacks lasting for more than 100 years. But no one can do anything to anyone. Until he spent a lot of money and bought a gold core from somewhere else, which could increase the success rate of core formation by 30%. As long as you can successfully break through. Then the century-long dispute on the island will come to an end. They, the Zhengyuan sect, will undoubtedly become the sole overlord of the island. For today, he spent a full 10 years preparing various spirit medicines and precious medicines to assist in the breakthrough. By chance, I also obtained a fragment of ancient magic. By practicing this secret method, even if core formation fails, there is a high probability of condensing a pseudo-pill. The so-called pseudo-elixir is to surpass the foundation building and obtain the cultivation and combat power comparable to the first level of gold core, but it will forever lose the possibility of further progress. Lifespan is also far less powerful than a normal breakthrough gold core. You can say that. He had made all the preparations. Regardless of success or failure tonight, his strength would be greatly increased, and he would dominate the island and force the other two families to surrender. But he never expected it. Something unexpected happened. The pill he swallowed, there is a big problem. Someone tampered with it. As a result, he not only failed to break through, but also went directly into insanity, causing damage to his meridians, severe loss of vitality, and also cutting off the possibility of condensing a pseudo-pill. Failed. Total failure. How so? Who is it? His face was pale, his eyes were red, and he was almost crazy, searching for figures and possibilities in his mind. Soon locked onto one person. His eldest disciple. The person who was adopted by him since childhood and raised as his own son. The pills were bought through someone he introduced. He also brought it back personally and gave it to me. Since there is a problem with the medicine. That must be him. Han Yi suddenly felt a little cold, both physically and mentally. This coldness comes not just from the hurt of betrayal. More fear of tomorrow. Now he has gone astray and his strength has plummeted. If his eldest disciple really colludes with outsiders, tomorrow. That was the time when his Zhengyuan sect was completely destroyed. His daughter, his disciples, and the inheritance left by his master will all be reduced to ashes. Just at this moment, a light suddenly appeared beside him. Han Yi looked down and saw that it was the Haoyu level Azure Dragon communication talisman he carried with him. At this time, someone summoned him. Han Yi frowned, slowly reached for the communication symbol and took a look. A line of words appeared on the interface. System upgrade is about to begin, restarting, please wait. System upgrade. What? Looking at these unfamiliar words, Han Yi was full of confusion, but he didn't care about them now and threw the communication symbol aside. I began to think about how to break the deadlock when daybreak comes. At least, find a way to get my daughter out safely. As for other things, he had no time to take care of them. Just pondering. The dark secret room was once again filled with light. Han Yi looked down and saw that his communication symbol had been reactivated. It shone brightly and an azure dragon was hovering in the quiet room. Watching this scene, Han Yi couldn't help but sigh. It would be great if you were the real azure dragon. If you could protect me from this disaster, I would surely worship you forever. But this era has just emerged. He couldn't help but laugh at himself and shook his head. I've really gone crazy. My brain is almost going dark. He actually prayed to a communication symbol. But at this moment, he suddenly discovered that there was an extra icon in the communication symbol interface, which was very conspicuous. Langya. Forum. Another new thing I've never heard of. His mind was blank now. He racked his brains but could not think of what to do after dawn. He knew in his heart that this was his fate and now was the last time of his life. Thinking and thinking, he almost opened something called Langya Forum, by some strange coincidence. Anyway, life is short and waiting to die is just waiting to die, so it might as well be nice to see something new. The software has just been opened. A simple and elegant interface was projected in the air in the secret room in the form of a virtual shadow. The first line of words that caught Han Yi's eyes completely stunned him. A brief analysis of Sword Foundation by Sword Immortal. In front of this line of words, there are two logos, with very conspicuous red and blue backgrounds, which read, Add to Featured, and Pin to Top. Bei Ming Sword Immortal. Is he the Saint Lord of the North Sea, Sword Dao Spirit Ascension, who roamed the North Sea? Han Yi was stunned. To a low-level cultivator like him, such a title was like a deafening thunder from heaven. He subconsciously separated a wisp of his spiritual consciousness and clicked on it. Suddenly I saw a text. Then his heart began to beat violently, as if it would jump out of his throat at any moment. This isn't any powerful Sword Dao divine ability. It is the most basic and simplest sword Dao theory. But no matter how basic, or how simple something is, if it is named Sword Immortal, it is destined to be extraordinary. The cultivation insights of the great Sword Immortal, a holy lord, even if they are just a few words, are enough to benefit ordinary cultivators for a lifetime. This is what is happening right now. Nothing profound, just some simple sentences. But it seems to explain the true meaning of Sword Dao vividly. Even though Han Yi is not proficient in Sword Dao. After reading this article, I also had a sense of divine insight, and felt like I had become a Sword Dao genius. It's no exaggeration to say, if this thing were put into an auction house, it could easily be sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. Even if you spend money, you may not be able to get it. It is bound to cause bloodshed, and countless people will die as a result. And such a precious thing was now clearly displayed before him. Is he dreaming? But soon, he came to his senses and a bitter smile appeared on his face. Although Sword Immortal's experience was good, it could not solve his current urgent problem. If this injury caused by the incantation is not cured, he will not be able to save the world even if he is given an imperial scripture. Just at this moment, he suddenly noticed from the corner of his eye that there was another post below the article, Northern Sword Immortal's brief analysis of Sword Foundation. It's not terrible to be obsessed with foundation building stage. There are at least 88 solutions. 88. Han Yi's pupils shrank. He can't think of any now, and you have 88. This must be a lie, right? He clicked on it and took a look at the signature, Taoist Master Yunlai. Tao Master, the great power of the soul formation stage. Oh shit. Now, there is salvation. Han Yi's pupils were shining, as if he was regaining consciousness, and he stared at the contents of the post. The language is concise and the content is straightforward. It is not difficult to understand as long as you have a certain foundation in spiritual practice. Soon, he finished reading them all. A nearly perfect solution formed in his mind. He immediately sat up straight, made hand gestures, and called upon the magic power in his body to repair himself. Qi travels through the 9 palaces, stepping into the mysteries. The clear and bright mind reflects the moonlight. The Dantian gathers innate Qi, and the mid-noon circulation is free to wander. As his magic power began to flow, he was gradually covered with a layer of moonlight, and his appearance was solemn and dignified. His vitality, which had originally withered, was returning to its peak at a speed visible to the naked eye. His energy is becoming more and more vigorous. The light on his body became more and more dazzling, like a full moon above his head. His appearance was solemn and dignified, and every move he made exuded an aura that was terrifying enough to overturn rivers. I don't know how much time has passed. His aura reached its peak, and a round gold core slowly condensed above his head, eventually falling into his spiritual platform, sinking into his Dantian, and becoming one with his body. Boom! A majestic aura swept across, as if destroying the heaven and earth. The quiet room collapsed and the mountain wall turned to ashes. Han Yi soared into the air, his eyes gleaming coldly, like an ancient immortal god, overlooking all living beings. He looked down and saw several furtive figures trembling beside the ruins of the quiet room, looking at him in disbelief. How is it possible? You're not dead. You've made a breakthrough. Han Yi looked at his eldest disciple indifferently and said, the biggest mistake you made was giving me this Langya communication talisman on my birthday. Quote? Chapter 98. Hurry, set your master's grave on fire. Somewhere in a pill refining room. With a loud bang. The alchemy furnace exploded with a deafening noise. In the smoke, an old man with a charred body and a dark face walked out, with black smoke coming out of his mouth. This is the female elixir. It's really difficult to refine. The balance of yin and yang requires too much control. The old man looked back at the messy alchemy room and sighed. Master, master. In the distance, a young and pretty girl was running towards them quickly, her face red and she looked very excited. Calling for souls. Stop shouting, the old man said unhappily. Oh, master, your furnace exploded again. The girl couldn't help but say as she looked at the scene in front of her. What do you mean by again? I didn't blow it up a few times, okay. Yes, it's only the 45th time in these few months, the girl pouted. Quote. The old man's face darkened, and he waved his hand and said, what do you know, girl? The difficulty of refining the female pill is the most advanced among the rank 3 pills. I have only blown up the furnace more than 40 times, which is already very little. If someone else were to do it, they would definitely blow up more. Master, you are so tired of figuring it out on your own, why don't you find someone to teach you? Teach me? Are you kidding? Not to mention that my master is no longer alive. Even if he were alive, my alchemy technique is already better than his master's. How can he teach me? If master can't do it, can you ask someone else to teach you? For example, Elder Tianhuang from Biming Sacred Land or something like that. The girl opened her bright eyes and blinked them. Quote. The old man was silent for a while, then placed his hand directly on the girl's head, leaving a large, pitch-black handprint. Hey, what are you doing? Disciple, there's nothing wrong with your brain, why are you talking nonsense? Quote. What kind of person is Elder Tianhuang of Biming Sacred Land? Question mark. Alchemy technique. In the entire Northern Territory, there are only a few who can be compared with him. That is enough to be called the alchemy immortal. How could a being of that level come to teach me? Oh, I'm not kidding. Haha, even if you set your great master's grave on fire and it's emitting green smoke, I, your master, don't have the ability to ask Elder Tianhuang for guidance. The old man said unhappily. Look for yourself. The girl had no choice but to take out a communication symbol, open the forum, and project the images into the air. What is this? When the old man saw the new thing, a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. Langya Forum, which just came out these past 2 days, has many powerful people posting in it, with all kinds of content. It's very interesting. Look at this. Listening to the girl's words, the old man looked over suspiciously and watched the girl click on the post titled, Pill Refining, have you really started? What the hell? Have you really gotten started? When the old man saw those words, he became furious. He had been pill refining for over 100 years, devoting himself to the study of alchemy Tao. Although his cultivation is average, due to his immersion in alchemy Tao, many cultivators with higher realms than him may not be able to match him. Have you got started? These 4 words were a complete humiliation to him. Master, don't be impatient, keep watching. Quote. The old man curled his lips, suppressed his anger, and continued reading. As he watched, there was an expression of disdain on his face, and his mouth was crooked higher than anything else. I want to vent my inner anger. But, as he watched, his expression changed, the corners of his mouth retracted, his eyes became serious, he moved closer, and then widened his eyes. Sometimes it hisses softly, sometimes it roars loudly. Sometimes he would slap his thigh angrily. Wonderful. It's wonderful. He clenched his fists, his dark face now turned red, and his pupils revealed excitement and shock that he could not conceal. Who wrote this? This is the most wonderful, best insight I have ever seen in my life. There's a signature on the back, take a look. Heavenly pill, heavenly pill. The old man's voice rose several degrees, and he almost jumped up, and then he couldn't help shaking all over. Is he not dreaming? In his lifetime, he actually saw Elder Tianhuang's pill refining experience. What's the difference between this and getting advice from the other party? He could not wait to wave his hand to wipe away the mess, then he took out a brand new alchemy furnace from his space ring, put it on, and started the fire directly, pill refining. I want to verify what I just learned. This time. But just over 2 hours. The alchemy furnace is opened. Waves of mysterious light radiate, accompanied by a rich elixir fragrance that is refreshing. Ha ha ha, I succeeded, thank you Elder Tianhuang, thank you Langya Forum, ha 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 ha. The old man was almost crazy and ran out barefoot. Quick, disciple, hurry up and set fire to your master's grave. I'm afraid that this monstrous fate will shorten my life, so I'll ask your master to help me share the burden. Quote. Somewhere, in the deep mountains and forests, several figures are moving forward rapidly. They were wearing uniform clothing. He carried a bamboo basket on his back, which was filled with various spiritual medicines. This is the island's herbal medicine collection team, which specializes in going into the deep mountains to look for spirit medicine that is difficult to find in the outside world, dig it up, and sell it at a high price. Suddenly, a young monk's eyes lit up and he pointed somewhere. Look, there. Everyone stopped and looked. I saw a mushroom covered with spots growing among the weeds, swaying gently and absorbing the sunlight. Is this the Yunmeng mushroom mentioned in the book? Yunmeng mushroom. That's a rank 2 spirit medicine, right? We're rich this time, haha. Quick, pick it up. Etc. A middle-aged monk who was leading the crowd stopped them with a serious expression. Don't be impulsive. I have seen in an ancient book that there is another kind of dream mushroom that looks and smells exactly the same as the cloud dream mushroom. But the medicinal properties are completely different. If it is a dream mushroom, once it comes into contact with it, there will be no harm for the time being unless you use magic power. Once used, the toxins will invade the whole body, causing you to lose yourself and become a zombie-like existence. When these words were spoken, everyone was horrified. Without touching it, wrap it with magic power, collect it first, and put it in the medicine basket. Is that okay? I can't say for sure, but I heard that the toxicity of this thing radiates. It should be unsafe within a few feet around it. Are we just going to let it go? Captain, does the ancient book tell us how to distinguish between cloud dream mushroom and fantasy dream mushroom? This, never. Quote. The air suddenly became much quieter. It is not easy for their team to come across a rank 2 spirit medicine on a normal day. If you give up at this point, it will inevitably feel a pity. But if you make a mistake accidentally, you might even lose your life. Just at this moment, a young team member suddenly raised his hand and said, "How about I give it a try? Can you tell the difference?" The herbalist captain's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that there was such a talent in his team. No, the young team members shook their heads repeatedly. Quote. But I can look it up on the Langya forum. I've seen a lot of information on spirit medicine there before, so I should be able to find it. Forum. When everyone heard this, they were all stunned. There's this on top. They are not unfamiliar with the forum and know that it contains a large amount of cultivation experience passed down by predecessors. I have been holding it and watching it every day recently. But as for other aspects, I haven't had time to understand them yet. In front of everyone, the young team member opened the Langya forum and then switched to the Tianhuang category. Suddenly, the page refreshed and secondary categories appeared one after another. Pill refining, artifact refining, beast taming, talisman, rare, or spirit medicine. He selected the spirit medicine category and opened a search box in the upper right corner. With a slight movement of his mind, the 3 words, Yunmeng mushroom, appeared in it. Immediately following, the page changed and was filled with a large number of posts and messages. Each one is related to Yunmeng mushroom. Among them, there is how to distinguish Yunmeng mushroom and Wanmeng mushroom. Chapter 99 Langya server. Tianju Island. Wang Xiu sat in a rocking chair, rocking gently and browsing the forum. On the forum, the number of views and likes of the pinned post, Biming Sword Immortal's brief analysis of Sword Foundation, has exceeded 10 million. It's no exaggeration to say. Anyone who has visited the forum, whether or not they are practicing Sword Dao, must take a look at this post. After all, this is Biming Sword Immortal's Sword Dao experience. For people of this level, just the title itself can make a world of difference to them. Even if they are just the most basic ones, they are also Sword Immortal's experience. Maybe it's not that I'm not suitable for practicing Sword Dao. But what about the person who taught me Sword Dao? With the experience of Sword Immortal, maybe you can awaken the Sword Dao talent in your blood. Right, even if he really had no chance of getting Sword Dao, but being able to see a manual of this level would be something he could brag about later on, and it would be a very important topic of conversation. The replies below the post are also in good order. Thank you Sword Immortal for your guidance. I have benefited a lot from it. It's like a rebirth for me. Thank you Sword Immortal. Sword Immortal's great kindness is beyond repayment, so a statue has been made for him and incense is burned every day for his worship. His lifespan will never end and the incense will never cease. Thank you Sword Immortal. Apart from that, the most popular posts are not those about the Sacred Land overhaul. Rather, it was a post from Li Yuanhua and other soul formation stage monks. For example, Taoist Master Xuanchang's, on how to improve the foundation and increase the success rate of foundation building in Qi refining stage, has been well received by many Qi refining stage practitioners. Then there is Li Yuanhua's, it's not scary to go astray in the foundation building stage, there are at least 88 solutions, which accurately hits the pain points of many foundation building stage practitioners. This is truly a life-saving experience. Under the post, many monks were moved to tears of gratitude. I am Zhang Chen, the last cultivator of the Union sect. I would like to thank the seniors for their guidance and for saving my life. It is like a rebirth. I am Shangguan Yin from the Qingxia sect. I was careless in my practice and went astray. Fortunately, I was guided by the seniors and was able to save my life. I would like to express my gratitude again. Yang Yurong from the Beluo sect, thank you, senior. If you need my help in the future, just write me a letter. I will go through fire and water for you without hesitation. In comparison, most of the great monks in the sacred land were very proud of their status. Although the experiences they shared were genuine, they did not consider whether the lower-level monks could understand them. In other words, it was considered, but intentionally so. This is their usual style. Whether they are accepting disciples or instructing juniors, they are not used to feeding food directly into their mouths. Most of them are used to saying some mysterious things and let the people below comprehend them. Especially the experience written by the master of the 10,000 Beasts Pavilion, which had only 400 words in total, was very difficult to understand, and a lot of its content came from Taoist secret collections. Some practitioners who do not have a proper inheritance cannot even read. Naturally, I cannot understand the deeper meaning of this. It's normal to be unpopular. Young master. The wind blew the forest, and Ni Ting, wearing a bright red dress, walked through the falling leaves, her white and straight legs faintly visible between the hem of her skirt. The statistical results from the headquarters are out. How is it? Wang Xiu looked at her. More than 90% of forum users spend a long time online, which exceeds expectations, but their level of activity is not high enough. More than 80% of users simply read the posts or follow the mainstream replies. There are very few users who create new posts on their own. Hearing this, Wang Xiu nodded, not surprised. It's normal. I asked my mother and the elders to post first, which can certainly play a great role in attracting people, but it also caused a lot of ordinary cultivators to feel constrained. Subconsciously, I felt that with the powerful present, it was not my turn to speak. This is determined by the objective environment of the immortal cultivation world. There is a lack of an environment for freedom of speech. But this is not enough. Wang Xiu wants to create an online platform that allows all monks to participate independently and create content, thereby greatly improving user stickiness. Even if the monks who enter this forum cannot see the updated cultivation experiences of the powerful in the future, there are still other contents that make them reluctant to leave. After all, it is impossible for Wang Xiu to ask the masters and elders of the sacred land to provide him with content continuously. This is not realistic. As long as more and more cultivators cannot do without the Langya forum. In the foreseeable future, those who do not use the Langya communication talisman will become outcasts. Habits are deadly. Ni Ting lifted the hair beside her ear and asked, "What should we do next?" Wang Xiu closed his eyes. The rocking chair suddenly stopped. He stood up slowly on his toes. "No hurry. I'm prepared. Let's go to the headquarters. Someone is waiting for us there." Langya headquarters covers a vast area. In addition to the main island, there are 6 or 7 subsidiary islands around it, with numerous buildings and covered by formations. These are basically where people from Langya live. Southeast of the main island, there is an independent island, surrounded by multiple formations. No one is allowed to enter or leave easily. Even people at the responsible level need to report to the president or the young master and get approval. It is apparently a forbidden area. Pass through the formation. In the middle area is a huge building. The exterior of the building is covered with runes, like a sky full of stars, which is dazzling and extremely difficult and obscure. Clang! With a clear whistle, the golden-winged great pung eagle spread its wings, broke through the air, and hovered outside the formation. Wang Xiu stood on the back of the eagle with his hands behind his back and took out a token. The token flew out and a seal was injected into the formation, instantly opening a passage. Soon, thousands of Taoists came out one after another to greet them respectfully. "Greetings, young master." Wang Xiu waved his hand and looked at Sha Yaoyao, who was at the front of the crowd. The other party walked towards him, saying, "You came at the right time. Senior brother Hongyuan just arrived and is inside." Wang Xiu followed her inside, looking around at the scene. In the sky, dense lines that are difficult to perceive with the naked eye pass through the void and converge from all directions, like a giant net supporting the sky. It transformed into tiny runes, integrated into the formation, and kept running. The whole scene is both chaotic and has a unified beauty. Is this the server of our Langya communication talisman? In your words, yes. The server of the Langya communication talisman is a transcendent level Tianxin stone of high grade and huge size. Information is sent from here, transmitted to the independent formations arranged by each Langya branch, and then spread to the communication symbols in the nearby area. This process was already written in Wang Emu's plan. This is also the fundamental reason why the signal transmission of all communication symbols is stronger than other communication symbols and can be updated online. But in fact, this was Wang Xiu's first time here. Looking at the scene in front of me, it is quite novel and has a sci-fi feeling. Let me introduce you. This is senior brother Hongyuan, the direct disciple of senior uncle Heavenly Origin. The two men came to the depths of the building, where a gentleman was waiting. Su Hongyuan had a complicated expression on his face and saluted to Wang Xiu, Mr. Xiu. I have heard of senior brother Su's talent for a long time. Today I see that he is truly worthy of his reputation. Wang Xiu knew Su Hongyuan. He was the direct disciple of Elder Heavenly Origin, the master of the Divine Array Pavilion. In terms of identity, she is the same as Sha Yaoyao. But in fact, he entered the sect early, and has been practicing for more than 800 years. He is now a Taoist master in the soul formation realm. He has learned the true teachings of the elders of heavenly origin, and his attainments in formations are almost better than his predecessors. I don't dare. Su Hongyuan waved his hand with a bitter smile on his face. In front of Master Mu, Hongyuan's talent is really nothing. Hearing this, Wang Xiu couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, feeling a little surprised. Chapter 100 Forum Level and Points Mall. This was the first time they met each other, so even if they were being polite, wasn't it a bit too much? Before you arrived, I took him on a tour of the place and briefly told him about your ideas and thoughts. He was shocked. Sha Yaoyao's voice transmission sounded at the right time. Wang Xiu was slightly startled, then he suddenly understood. Like Sha Yaoyao, what shocked Su Hongyuan was Wang Xiu's method of using the Tianxin stone as the core and connecting thousands of communication symbols to each other. It is not difficult to implement though. But this kind of thinking and conception is extremely rare. In other words, even if Wang Xiu is unable to practice, with such a structure, in the future, as long as he stands here and says a word casually, the sound can be transmitted to any corner of the 5 realms. Although Master Mu is unable to practice, he has never given up on himself and still has a broad mind. Hongyuan is ashamed of his exquisite mind. Su Hongyuan looked at Wang Xiu with admiration in his eyes. The corner of Wang Xiu's mouth twitched slightly. He probably guessed what the other party was imagining, such as the strong will despite the physical disability. He also understood where this inexplicable deep respect came from. Ahem. He coughed twice and said, Brother Su, you are too kind. I asked Sister Sha to invite you here today because I need your help with something. Su Hongyuan nodded and said, Junior Sister Sha has already told me that Master Mu wants to set up a rank 5 formation to give birth to a formation spirit as the core of your Langya Forum. Wang Xiu nodded and said, that's right. The so-called core is actually the rules for the operation of the forum, including daily review of posts, comments, and other small matters. It's a small matter. However, when Langya Forum was first launched, it already had tens of millions of users, and its size will continue to grow in the future. So many things piled up. Even if the practitioner's spiritual sense is strong and one can be used as much as 1,000, it is still not enough. If everything is done manually, the cost will increase as time goes by, until there is no end. To solve this problem, Wang Xiu and Sha Yaoyao discussed it and they both agreed that it would be most appropriate to use formation spirits. The so-called array spirits can be understood as the transcendent-level intelligent computers in science fiction movies of the past. And it can grow with the years. In fact, in today's cultivation world, using a powerful formation spirit to handle some trivial affairs within each force has become the norm. This includes the great sacred lands. Certainly. It is not an easy task to give birth to an array spirit. You need a formation of at least rank 4 or above, with the right time and place, as well as plenty of luck and opportunity, to have a slight chance. But for a force of the level of Biming Sacred Land, it's difficult, but not that difficult. Su Hongyuan nodded and said thoughtfully, for a normal rank 5 formation, there is actually a high failure rate in order to give birth to a suitable formation spirit. But the Tianshu Jingxi Sutra of my Divine Formation Pavilion happens to be good at this aspect. If the Langya Chamber of Commerce can provide sufficient support and some rare immortal gold, the success rate can reach 70%. Hearing this, Wang Xiu's eyes were full of smiles, and he chuckled, Senior Sister Sha is right. Apart from Senior Brother Su, there are not many people in the world who can accomplish such a difficult task. Su Hongyuan said modestly, Mr. Mu, you are too kind. I have also read the Langya Forum of your Chamber of Commerce. It is really a blessing for the practitioners of the world. It is a great merit. I am honored to be able to do something for this matter. However, this matter is somewhat difficult and may take some time. Wang Xiu nodded, then I will wait for good news. Su Hongyuan is also a research fanatic. He was very interested in the underlying operating logic of the Langya communication talisman, and once he dived into it, he didn't want to come out. Wang Xiu and Sha Yaoyao did not disturb him and left silently. Tree-lined path. Petals are falling. It had just rained, and the road surface was soft, making a rustling sound when I stepped on it, which was somewhat hypnotic. Once the formation spirit appears, we can directly launch the subsequent forum-level system and points mall. Wang Xiu stretched and yawned. Sha Yaoyao asked, "Isn't it too early to launch it now?" Wang Xiu shook his head, "The sooner the better. While everyone is still fresh and excited, we need to get them into the habit of using the forum." Sha Yaoyao nodded and said, "Okay." The so-called points mall allows forum users to earn points through various active behaviors in the forum. Then exchange for some pretty good skills, law treasure. Wang Xiu has confirmed with the system that things sent out in this way are also part of the investment. After all, he did not gain any direct benefits from those forum users. From a certain perspective, it is indeed a one-sided investment. A few days later, Sha Yaoyao sent 2 messages using the communication symbol. The first was that Su Hongyuan's first attempt failed, and the first formation failed to give birth to a formation spirit. The second news is that Su Hongyuan was inspired by the operating logic of the Langya communication talisman server. Using 49 rank 4 formations as sub-formations, a rank 5 Lingshu formation was forcibly upgraded to a pseudo rank 6 formation, successfully giving birth to a formation spirit. Moreover, the ability of this formation spirit to handle affairs is 60% stronger than originally expected. Well done, Wang Xiu praised. By the way, senior brother Su also said that although our Tianxin stone is of high grade and large enough, according to the current trend, it will not be able to withstand more communication symbols in 5 years at most. Then what? He suggested that we build a Zaiji void array with the Tianxin stone as the core, which can greatly enhance the ability of the Tianxin stone. It will be enough for at least 300 years. Wang Xiu laughed and said, "He seems to be addicted to work." Okay, let him do it. If he needs any materials, he can get them directly from the Chamber of Commerce. Good. After hanging up the call, Wang Xiu took a deep breath, looked at Ni Ting, and ordered, "Notify everyone that the forum level and points mall can be online." "Yes, young master." Following Wang Mu's order. At the Langya headquarters, the forum project team began to work frantically. Not long after, the communication symbols of all users of Langya communication symbols rang in unison. "What's going on?" "It's the news from the Langya forum, saying that there will be another update." "Update what?" "I don't know. They said that I just need to try again." Soon, they reopened the Langya forum and immediately found a pop-up announcement. "Forum update, unlock level in mall system. By signing in, posting, and replying to high-quality comments, you can gain forum experience and points. The higher the level of items you can exchange from the mall. There's a tip below, popular posts and great reviews can earn you extra experience and points." Looking at the announcement in front of them, the monks were confused. Too many words are unfamiliar to them. Fortunately, they are good at observation. It is easy to find that there is an additional point mall option in the bottom category of the forum homepage. Shouyang Gong, Rank 2 Technique, 1000 points. Jade Pill Secret, Rank 2 Pill Classic, 1200 points. 1000 Forging Techniques, Rank 2 Artifact, 1150 points. Hiss, there is actually the 9 Profound Body Tempering Technique here. I have seen it in the Langya Chamber of Commerce. It is an extremely superior Rank 2 body refining technique. I have heard of Shuyang Gong. Among the Rank 2 exercises, this one is famous for being moderate and peaceful. It is almost impossible to go astray. Moreover, practicing this exercise can strengthen the Tao foundation and even increase the success rate of condensing the gold core by 20%. Everyone was dazzled and their mouths were dry. Although these rank 2 skills in front of me are only suitable for foundation building monks, their quality is extremely good and much stronger than most skills available on the market. Even many monks who have already completed the foundation building. If one could obtain the skills from the points mall, I'm afraid most people would choose to change their skills. Even if it takes several years, it can make the foundation more stable, the combat power stronger, and the chance of breakthrough higher. There is nothing wrong with all this. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.